Oh, he's back.
Okay, apparently we're all good now. So, Yoji, if you want to hit us up with that sexy intro.
Alright.
God.
What is going on, guys? It's Yoji. Welcome to Baeclast, episode 8. Yes, this time I prepared and know the episode number, because we have the full crew here. We have Ziggy, Rise, Q, Doge, Tarke, and myself, like, all in the same podcast for once. It's been a while. So yeah, we need to catch up a little bit, and we'll talk about what everyone has been up to. Then we'll talk about the Mayhem race, and we'll talk about damage over time changes and the beta all together. And that's basically all there is PoE related right now. Beta and racing, right? That's it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's PoE life right now.
Yeah.
I guess people could still be playing Legacy League.
Yeah, I do that.
6-month Legacy League.
I still play Legacy League.
That little...
When was the last time you purchased something off another player in Legacy?
I'm playing Self-Found.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
by the way.
By the way.
Hardcore solo Self-Found, by the
Has
way.
it really been 6 months?
It's,
No, it hasn't been 6
it's
months.
gonna
but
be like
it's
6
gonna
by
be
the
like
time.
6 months
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, it's like that twice the normal league, basically.
I think there's an announcement tomorrow about Legacy League closing or something about Legacy League dates.
Yeah.
So
So,
I think they should just let it run until like the week before
Yeah.
3.0 comes out. Just leave it. I mean, at this point, like, what who cares?
Some people
let it
really
be.
don't want that, man. Like, when I'm like, yeah, people like asking when it's ending, I'm like, just what's the problem? Just like let it keep running. People keep playing. Some people really don't want that to happen, man. They want it to end. I don't know why.
Maybe they want their stuff into like go to standard, and they want
This
to do
guy.
something there.
I guess.
Maybe they like hoarded stuff for
This
standard,
guy's the problem.
and the league's just not
Guys,
ending.
What's your problem, Bo? Tell us. Explain to me. I don't understand it.
It's one of those things. I'm actually kind of enjoying the fact that Legacy keeps getting delayed, because if you remember, when they first said they were extending Legacy, I was the guy saying, could they not like do something a little bit more interesting? I was like, no, Tarky, it's fine. It's not going to be that long. And now every time it seems like it gets longer, I'm just sat back here like, just give it another month, and they're going to be saying, maybe it's getting a bit longer now. And I'm like, well, I did actually call that one first.
1 year
yeah.
Legacy League.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the new permanent league now. They just like
Yeah.
merge it with
Legacy's permanent now.
Dude, imagine if they were like, because they kept saying that like they're working on all this act stuff and everything. They don't have that much time, and that most likely the next league's gonna be like not a main point of focus. What if they're just like, oh, next league is Legacy too? No problem. You guys enjoyed Legacy so much. We saw your feedback. Next league's Legacy too.
They just let Legacy keep running, and then just add 3.0. There's no new league. Just keeps running.
God, that
But there's
sounds like
more
Diablo
league
3.
zones. And
Yeah.
they run between 1 and 9 charges now.
Yep.
That's what it is with Diablo 3, right? They like released the
Yeah.
Necromancer, but there's no new season, so everybody's just like, what the fuck? Like, what do we do with this shit?
Wait, they didn't start a new season for Necro?
No, it
They
doesn't
just
come out for like
realized
another month. Yeah.
the thing about Diablo though, it's like I was watching some like Rise of the Necromancer streams. I was like, oh, new content. This is gonna be pretty good. And then like all the layouts, all the monsters, all the gameplay looks exactly the same as when I played it like years and years ago. And you're just
Yeah.
like, wow, okay, so it's just like a new character.
I mean, I've been playing quite a lot of the Necromancer recently, and I think it just goes to show how good of a job Green Dude has done with Path of Diablo. Like, it's just so polished. So I've been enjoying myself. I don't know what anyone else has been up to.
Yeah, I also played
Yeah.
some Necromancer. I'm playing SRS right
Debated.
now on the Soul Self on hardcore. And yeah, Necromancer's still pretty viable, I would say.
Nice.
Oh
Yep.
man. Rip Diablo.
I like the immediate jump into the Diablo bashing. It should be like a point on the thing.
Yeah, you
Bash
just
Diablo.
like catch up
Every-
with everyone, bash D3, talk about the rest.
The Rise of the Necromancer expansion on Grim Dawn gets actual new content with it. That's the
They-
more
they
that.
have one
Hey,
as
there
well?
is a thing. There's a thing like
They-
that.
They have a Necromancer coming on Grim Dawn as well, but it's coming along with actual content.
Is it $15?
At this
Probably
at this
about
point,
that, I
everyone's
don't
just
know.
like bashing D3 as a meme. What the fuck? Even Grim Dawn.
$15.
One thing I do like though is I've tried to be slightly more subtle with my necromancer memes. So like my last one was I actually on their like release video I said, can the necromancer corpse explode the corpse of the boss? And I was like, someone might think that's an actual Diablo related question. You got to keep them like slightly in there. You can't be too subtle with them.
Oh man.
Although I think the best one is when you buy the necromancer, it comes with a pet called the half form goblin, and the top comment I saw was like they couldn't even be bothered to form the other half of the goblin, and that was so good. I was just like, yes.
That's good.
Okay.
That's nice because it's like a Blizzard non-mean-spirited joke, right?
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I remember when I was a kid and I was like reading through like forum threads on the Blizzard stuff, and I'm just like reading it, and there's like somebody died, you know, in a guild, and they're having this like huge funeral, and everybody in the comment section is like, oh, we're really sorry and everything, and there's just this one comment like, what did he drop? Like, what the fuck? Like they not like this. But the DD thing definitely reminds me what I've been doing lately.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was pretty good.
So yeah, I've been doing the 2-week. It's been a lot of fun. I would recommend. Very good. And then I was running Shores, and it was really nice because basically, to anybody that hasn't played Mayhem, possibly it rotates different mods on maps every hour, warband style. So every hour, you get to a point where you're like, well, I don't know what's going to be next on the map rotation that I want to run. So you have to put up like all these instances, right? So that it preserves the current mod. And then you just put up all these instances and you refresh them and you do maps one by one until you get to like a decent point. So I put up like all my fucking maps, like 40 fucking maps. I'm ready to go. I have like the best, there's boxes, there's like all this good shit. And I do my last Beyond map. I killed the last fucking boss. I open the chest on shore and it spawns a Beyond. And I'm like, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker while standing on the corpse of the boss. And I'm like, well, like, in my head, like, I'm just this is all happening, like, very slowly in my head. I'm like, I've got all the time on the world. Like, he might blow me up, but really, I'm probably going to kill him. And if not, I'm just going to move away. He fucking spawned with haste and instantly popped me. I'm just like, oh.
It's just like,
God damn it, dude. It was, like, happening so slowly in my head. I was like, I've got all this time to do all these things. Like, dead. Fucking
that guy was determined, man. He had a plan from the second one. He spawned, he knew exactly what he was doing. And there's all the other corpses he could have targeted. He knew the one corpse to target as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was just waiting, watching you from the Beyond Dimension, being like, you know what I'm gonna do when I'm gonna come over there?
That guy.
That's nice.
Yeah.
This clip is very nice. I like your reaction afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh no, is it on the... Okay.
Yeah, it's
It's
the
in the
instant
chat.
regret. The
I
instant
knew
regret.
it.
Yeah,
I think I had
'cause
another one.
I
You always
fucking-
say that afterwards. You're like, I knew it. I'm a fucking retard.
No.
I'm actually retarded.
No, I say that. Don't say that shit.
That was last time.
I
That was
was,
last time.
dude. I was on Reddit and on my very last rip, I guess, which is the latest thing I've done,
What, the
is
porcupine
I
one,
was
right?
leveling like an assassin, and I popped myself to the porcupine, right? Because Fizz Reflect is 10% and Ellie Reflect is 20%, but the porcupine has 35 of both, which is
Balanced.
yeah, I guess that's great. And I just went into Weaver's instance, first mob, just pop myself to the porcupine, man. And then I go on Reddit, and it's like a comment there. This guy always has the same fucking reaction to everything. It's like, dude, I started laughing at this shit, and on the last one, I was like, I knew it. It's a completely different reaction. Excuse me. Like, what the shit? Come on, man.
Nice fake reaction when you died, streamer.
Yeah.
Probably even pre-recorded the reaction.
Yeah.
Imagine you die, you just like pop a video on your cam. Like, oh no, I died.
If you're gonna do that, at least make it epic, like you're doing a backflip or some shit out of your chair.
Yeah,
Just pre-record that popping up.
that'd be good.
That porcupine though is an absolute cunt. I can't stand it. This whole league, it's been like
The
my
language
main...
in this podcast.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'm from the UK. We're allowed to say it. But like
to their mother.
yeah. I'm playing a poison assassin kind of thing, and I was like, oh, I'll start with Lionize. That's nice and budget. And Lionize is your hits can't be evaded, which means your reflect can't be evaded. And I was like, tap 5% HP. I was like, you know what, maybe let's not use Lionize. Let's unequip that. Equip a Death's Opus. And then I was like, tap 4% HP. I was like, you know, maybe let's go Voltaxic. And it's just like, oh god. And after the Mathel Rip as well, it's like, oh, so good.
That one was so awesome. I loved my ass off on that one. Just like, go through all of lab, go into the trash room, one shot yourself.
One shot.
Yeah. Quit.
I love how he thought about it. He was like, let me turn off this music so I can hear what the fuck's going on in the room. He just goes in, looks about it like sneakily.
The really subtle bit about that is when he pauses music, you can see he's also waiting for his health to regen because he was at like 1.4k. Yeah. He lets it hit 1600. He's like, I'm safe now.
That's the worst part about my rip too. That the only reason why I rolled the assassin, because it was supposed to be a poison assassin, was the fact that like a chaos assassin. So I was like, okay, invasion's really good for maps and EXP and everything. I'ma roll this shit so I don't die to the porcupine like everybody else. And I fucking still kill myself to the porcupine when leveling up. Like, it's so bad.
Right, you gotta do what I do. I'm like totem build, so I'm safe. But then that's not enough. I don't want my totems to die to reflect, so I made my totems degen totems. Then my totems are safe to the reflect.
I rerolled Low Life Righteous Fire. We're fucking Righteous Fire buddies, dude.
Hey.
I'm like a attack guardian. I'm gonna be running haste. I picked up like all of the attack speed of the skill tree. I'm gonna have like 5,000 energy shield. It's gonna be great.
This race though, fuck, it's so good. It is so good. It's got to be like one of the best events we've had, and it's really highlighted by solo self-found. I feel, you know, we've always asked for like years. People have been like, we want a craftsman's league where you play solo self-found and there's boosted currency drop rates. That'd be really fun. That's exactly what this is, man. It's so good. It's so fucking fun. Oh my god.
It's even better because of the farming system, I think. Like, because basically what a lot of people do is they go the level. They go to small zones with exiles with a lot of rarity and quantity, and there's no penalty the way there is on currency when it comes to like rarity drops. So all these exiles drop all this loot, they find a small zone, and they just farm these exiles in zones that are appropriate, right? So if I'm trying to find, like I was trying to find a spring leaf for my RF, because I've been farming Rise the Sun card for like 20 hours now, and I have like 3. It's terrible. But I need a spring leaf, so I went to a level 7 zone, or I guess you can do level 5 because exiles are +2, and then the item is level 7, so I just farmed that, and in 3 seconds I've got my item. If you need a tabula, you get it in like, you know, really fast. A gold rim, whatever you want for a reroll. It's really good. And some people even take it further. I mean, I farmed a Ring of Blades this league too in a level 20 zone, like in Sarn. It was really amazing.
Yeah, I watched Noogie farm a Wise Oak today, but he kind of didn't get
That's not amazing, no.
But that was like really horrible. But he tried that method, but he just didn't have any luck with it. But I think, like, just in general, that deterministic farming we have asked for quite a while now, and at least in this Voided League, it's now possible, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you watch...
I do remember...
go on.
Go ahead, Tarke.
I was going to say, did you watch Niggy farming his Hower? Because that made me want to kill myself. He was just entering instances, checking the first breach. If it wasn't Esh, TP reset. I like straight watched him for an hour, enter ship graveyard, Zoff, TP reset. And then everyone in chat was just like, please, just get it, please, just let it end, please. Oh my god.
Really?
Yeah, it was. He managed to get 2 of them. He ripped them later on, but like...
Yeah.
Yeah. He managed to do it eventually. It didn't take him that long, but it was painful to watch, man.
The league is like really gifty, but at the same time it's still challenging. And then in addition to that, like rotation happening where you're seeking out different zones and you're like checking your different maps when the hour comes up. And I feel like the game needs a bit more of that in the regular game. This like kind of exploration that's encouraged by that, you know, going in between different zones and stuff like that. We don't really have any of that outside of events like this, but it's really good.
I never appreciated this in warbands, you know? Maybe because, well, I guess I never really played
You
warbands.
played Tempest,
Mhm.
right?
It was-
But
it was
You
Tempest,
play
also-
hardcore. It was split
yeah, but
up.
Tempest was like no matter what was on the map, you would still just whatever it. Like some people would
Yeah.
farm corrupted zones, but if you had like something specific, you would just like be I'm a just run this strand anyway. Well, now you have to make this conscious decision, and it is a form of what I really wanted, which is the incentive to run a different map than just strand, and it works so freaking well. I am really surprised because if you just don't get strands five hours in a row, you have to have alternatives. You have to have a shape T15 map, T13, T10, you know, maybe even T12s, and it's all worth it. And some people even gather non-shaped maps because the map drops are so good that they just run like a key map, for instance. And even though it's dropping the adjacent maps, it's still so freaking good.
And it's not just like in theory this would happen as well. Like some changes, this is actually happening. Like I go watch Ziz, who's obviously playing at maximum efficiency, trying to get 100th right now. And every time I tune in, he's playing different maps.
Yep.
Holy fuck, he's not just running strands. He's running different maps every time. He's runs like at least 5 different maps. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it
so
keeps
good.
players playing too constantly because they're like, okay, next hour, next hour, next hour. Like you constantly have that thought that next hour something's gonna happen or something's gonna change. And if you don't have these things happening, you always like set yourself up to do something else in between. Like you have unique maps or something. Like there's you have to have a plan for it, and it is so fun.
Yeah, not only like mapping itself, you can also wait for a specific zone to have, or like a specific like lower tier map that drops a certain divination card, for example, to have like breaches or boxes, and like farm that to get like certain drops. So I like that as well, that you can take a break from mapping by farming either like low level uniques or I don't know, going for a taste of hate cards or something like this, which is also pretty cool.
It's exactly what I'm doing right now for the Sun card in Solaris.
It's also really good for people just playing normal hardcore, because I've been playing duo mostly. And before the league start, we had a serious conversation about how we'd set up our atlases differently, so that we would have different shapes, like 11s and 10s and stuff, so that when stuff was in different things, we could swap. And that's quite cool when you actually like are in a group and going, all right, you shape Mesa, I'll do pool, you do this, I'll do that, and then we can hop around. And that would be kind of what I think they originally wanted Atlas to be, where you kind of have that, like, we go to this guy for this specialized setup and this guy for that, but, you know.
Yeah, and it involves blocking too. Obviously,
Yeah.
one person blocks something is better than all 5 people blocking the same thing.
Yeah.
How do you think they could implement something like this this rotation system where we are incentivized to go to different zones into the core game?
The reward would have to be high enough so that not running strands would still be worth it. I mean, obviously, it can't be as high as the current like reward from this league, because I mean, 10 breaches a map is a bit much, maybe.
Yeah,
but it would have to be high enough. And I think that's where it would fall short, because GGG tend to be like a little bit on the lower side with the reward for like things that they permanently add into the game.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? For it to be rewarding enough, it also kind of needs to be a void league.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean that's where it failed, right? Tempest and Warbands, I feel that's where it failed. It wasn't rewarding enough, but this system works so well.
I mean, Tempest was pretty crazy rewarding on the good parts. Like there was a 10 exile Tempest, but it was super rare. It was not like you could reliably get it like every hour. You would be looking for one. You would just like kind of hope that there is one, and you kind of notice it somehow. But that's basically that. It's not like you get every hour. There's something to look for. Like specifically that there should probably be a map with lots of breaches or boxes or whatever.
I feel like the system works so much better in solo self-found though, because like if you do it on the core game, it's like, oh, I'm just not gonna do this. I'm gonna go to sleep. Somebody else is gonna do this thing, and I'm just gonna buy it off of him by doing what I normally do. Well, here you're like, if I don't do this, I don't get it. So it just inherently works a lot better.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like this is the like definitive way to play solo self-found, this event.
Yeah, it's
like stuff like divination cards actually works. Like the divination card system, I feel like doesn't really work. Like
I mean, it works when trading. It kind of works because you can like farm some.
But for solo
like,
self-found, yeah.
I mean,
but with this it works.
Sort of
with
works before though. Like I farmed Dark Mage sets. I know Rise. Everyone who played SSF last league, like you can do it. Some div cards are way more obnoxious than others though. Like this makes the obscure as hell div cards less of a pain. But I think it's mostly a case that div cards are nearly there if you realistically sit and farm them yourselves. They're just not quite there, and then this is what kind of pushes it.
Well, a lot of it is also changing the meta. That's the problem. Like, for instance, now that I'm farming the Sun card,
It's so rare.
it's so fucking rare.
Yes.
But right now, like, it's because Rise of the Phoenix isn't worth anything. But back then, it was worth multiple exalts when this card was released. So they just need to adjust the drop rates a lot, and then it would be a pretty good system, I think.
Yeah, I tried to farm it once as well. It was like I got like one card in like a few hours. I was like, that's not worth it. And I made a different character and actually found the shield on the other character before I even got like any other cards. I was like, okay.
I feel bad, Rise. I've found 2 Rise of the Phoenixes this race.
I found like 20. I just didn't keep any of them. I turned in, yeah, I turned in a body card. Like I was playing and I was like randomly picking up these body cards. And Ambu kept laughing at me. He's like, why the fuck are you picking those up? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just clicking buttons. And then I turned it in, and it was a Shavs. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's why.
but it never occurred to me. I never thought, like, oh, I'm going to play a Righteous Fire. And that I never thought I'm going to be playing, like, a real Righteous Fire build. But since the Guardian Demi is up for grabs, I'm like, might as well try it. So I've found, like, a lot of them. I just didn't keep any of them. I kept a lot of items, just not that.
Can I congratulate you on not vendoring the Shavs? Because I know that your chat hates you for that tabular into divine thing. It's just like, okay, so if you don't know, I've had 2 tabulars. Valve both have gotten 2+1 tabulars. Yeah, I need a divine about now. Let's just vendor one of those.
Yeah.
It
It was a good divine too. I remember it was a good divine. Except I needed a tabula on leveling on my second character, but.
The thing which I really liked about that was like you were trying to justify it again afterwards, and to be honest, I probably would have done the same thing in your position because it's like you don't plan around messing up multiple times.
Exactly.
Yeah. But,
like you can't have that. Like at the time, I mean, I was doing really well because I like farmed the first 2 days, and the third and the fourth day, I caught up like fucking crazy. You know, I was probably going to be second that day if it wasn't for the fact that I went full retard, but. I caught up really well. And so if you start, you know, having that loser's mentality, oh, let me just keep this gold rim, let me keep this thing, you know, just in case I die, I'm gonna reroll. It's like you're setting yourself up for failure. I mean, I failed anyway. But...
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works.
It kind of is though. It's like if you ever play like card games or whatever, it's like you make the play that would get you the win. You don't make the play which delays the loss, you know, and it's that same thing.
Exactly.
When you're playing competitively, if something's going to give you that winning edge, you go for it, you know.
But you don't really lose anything by... I mean, I can kind of see the divine tabular thing, but like keeping a gold rim, I mean, come on. It's just 4 slots in your stash for gold rim.
The Rise of the Phoenix thing, there was no reason to vendor that.
You
that
have
was
to pick
stupid.
it up. But... You don't vendor it. You don't get the alks. It adds up. Like, you know, for the longest time, I only ran 1 filter, and I was like, this is fine. And then I watched other people do racing, and they have these filters that just don't show fucking anything. And I was like, you know, how much time can this really save me? You know, like, am I really picking up that much stuff? I don't feel like it. I set up a strict filter for myself now. It's like night and day. Like, I clear maps twice as fast. All my builds are twice as good now because I just don't pick anything up, and it works so fucking well. It's crazy. I recommend it to everybody. So, like, these little things, picking up a gold rim and Wanderlust and all these, like, it seems like a small thing, but it really adds up, you know? And even 30 minutes in a race like this can make, a world of a difference, especially in a race like this where instances constantly rotate, you know? So you got to get the most you can out of that specific rotation.
Well, in the sense of that then, so I think we'd all agree that SSF has been a complete success for this race, right?
Yeah, I mean... If Matho is playing hardcore solo self-found, then probably something's been right there.
So, in a theoretical world where we get like more race events in the future, hopefully like GGG sticks to the trend and keeps having like more SSF versions of it. Because I think it's been really good that we've actually gotten this extra support on that. And it's all just because Zai made that Reddit thread. That's the thing which was really crazy about it. Was like, he makes a Reddit thread, then the next day like... Yeah, we're announcing this thing, and I thought that was really cool.
That was coincidence. Just randomly happened.
But
Which actually thinking about that, that's also something that GGG must be really mad about, because I fucking guarantee you they would have never made the voided, because they announced the voided races, right? So you can't use your MTXs. But then they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna get the MTX system," but the MTX system failed, and now, you know, they're really screwed. They must be losing a lot of money on this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did last beta, and they were really, really hoping to have it up before the beta. So, and now we got the void race as well. Same deal.
Yeah, everyone's playing like the voided races and the beta, and no MTX
No
being bought. I mean, they're
MTXs,
doing
no.
like pretty aggressive sales, by the way. Like if there's any MTX you want, like right now everything's on sale. Like every other day there's stuff on sale.
Fire MTX on
Yeah,
sale.
it's like all the Fire MTX on sale, like full armor sets and stuff.
still, I think like I'm normally a massive like addict when it comes to MTX. I still haven't bought any supporter packs recently. Like normally by this point I would have caved, but I've been like, you know, I'm kind of broke. Let's like save the money, and it's so much easier when you just can't use your MTX. It's like I'm either playing this race or I'm playing beta. I just can't use it. I see something that's for sale, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want to buy that, but I'm like, if I buy it, I might be able to use it in maybe 3 weeks or like what? It's really weird. They must be losing a lot, and I'm guessing it must be just something they really just can't work out, like some weird background technical mishap, because it's such a like important thing that for them not to have it anywhere is just like, oh.
Yeah, one would think that
So
the thing they earn money with would have high priority, right?
Yeah.
Because I know several people who have bought the $400 Kitava set, and like you can't even use it, right? Because like you buy the set, you expect to be able to use it, and people are like, yeah, you can use it on Legacy, you can go to the regular leagues and use it, but like no one's playing that right now, so I think it's a little bit unfair. They don't give you anything for them either, right? It's like, okay, you gave us a few $100, sorry, we're working on it. Like, okay.
I love how Kitog was like completely quiet for 40 minutes, and then MTX is just like, what? MTX?
I'm here, guys. No, I'm there. 'Cause, okay, I bought the Outlaw pack because I wanted like an extra key, right, to like just give out. And I was like, I'm gonna buy the Kitava set. I like the armor. It looks like Deathwing from World of Warcraft. It kind of reminds me of that. And I was like, this is nice. I'm gonna buy this. But then they're like, oh, it's delayed. And then like, I think this is why I think 3.0 is gonna get delayed heavily, because the MTX is like one little thing to implement, and then 3.0 changes up like, you know, so many more parts, like the UI, the systems and stuff. So August, I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
Yeah, when do you actually think? Because like somebody in my chat was like, do you really think they're going to release 3.0 like at the end of August? I'm like, the end of August? Holy fuck, that seems so far away. But like when I really started thinking about it, it's like not that unrealistic.
So I currently got plans made for like the first 2 weeks of August, just in case. I got like early shifts, so I can play like afternoon and stream and stuff. And then I also got some days off beginning of September, which I think is the more realistic starting point currently, not just estimating.
Just take the rest of the year off. Just
I kind of do have that, because I started a new job. I couldn't take vacation during the first half year, probation time. So I got all my vacation like that, like at the end of this year. So I'm set up for like lots of PoE. It's working.
What I'm telling my boss is that I'm going to take a trip to China to visit family, and I need like 2 weeks. But then the thing is, like, all this stuff keeps getting pushed back. So if he asks, like, so when's the trip? I'm like, oh, it's just maybe September. I don't know.
What you should say is that you have like a family member or something who's like gonna have a kid, but you're just waiting for the kid to come out, right? Because you don't want to go too early. So just like, oh yeah, no, it's been quite scary. It's been an 11-month pregnancy at this point. Where I'm really hoping that she makes it through.
My God.
But one thing though, which I hadn't really thought about it, in a world where they like, let's just say that they can't fix the MTX system, do you think they would ship 3.0 without the new MTX?
I mean, at some point they have to, but I think it would be horrible. They would lose so much money, because I think with the new MTX system, like there would be a lot more incentive to actually buy MTX.
Yeah.
I don't like. Surely it's not going to take that long to fix, but I think I could see them delaying like a week, but yeah, they wouldn't delay super long.
Yeah,
they failed
just
twice.
for that, I think.
I mean, if like 3.0 is completely finished, they can put like all the resources they have basically to fixing MTXs and like every programmer they have. Like nobody's busy with beta anymore. It can't take that long. I mean, it can't be. There have been MTX systems that work in the past in other games, so it's possible to make it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's.
it's been like they released it, it broke, they rolled it back, then like what, a day or two later they released, or no, maybe it was even the same day, I can't remember. They released it again, it broke again, and now it's been like what, 2 weeks or something?
Yeah, because I remember I was at work.
It was like
I was
when
watching
beta
your
launched.
stream, and I was like, "Oh, Raze is like clicking on the thing." It was like so fast. You know, you instantly
you
click on
had
it,
to
you get
break
the
it,
effect.
Raze.
And I was like, "Okay, it works." And I get home, and it's like it's gone.
No.
And then within 24 hours, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna redeploy." I'm like, "Yes."
I did get a taste for it. I did get a taste for it. Like, I was able to use it for like a minute maybe. It's fucking good. It is good.
Look, I
Ziggy's
mean, we
probably
don't...
been like just sitting there and clicking all day when he was at the offices.
It wasn't in there. The first time I saw it was
Oh.
the video they released, but the video is like, yeah.
Video's nice.
It was good.
Look, I mean, none of us like know anything about game development or like how these systems work or how long this stuff takes, but it's been a few weeks for the MTX system, right? Like no updates. It's not like we're close or like we know exactly what's going wrong. It's like we just don't have it.
It's kind of like trade, right? Just disappeared. I mean, by the end of last year, we should have had trade improvements.
Just forget about it, guys.
Just
Nothing
don't make
happened.
MTX another meme that just vanishes, please.
Permanent inspectors? We never said we're implementing those.
Guys, we can't fix the MTX, but we can give zombie AI a pass. So they're even more defensive, because everyone wants them for meat shields, right?
God, that's the thing that I always like. That people are like, why don't you run a golem? It's like, what do you mean? Why don't I run a golem? And then they come back like a day later and they're like, oh, I died. Something targeted my golem and it blew me the fuck up because I ran into it. It's like, yeah, that's why you don't run a golem. Them golems.
Okay. But to leave the MTX mystery behind us, so since Mayhem's the last thing on the calendar and we really like don't know what's happening schedule wise, like what are we kind of expecting or wanting to happen?
I mean, as long as they leave Legacy going until I'm fine, basically. But I would love to like have more races if they just give us another Mayhem or whatever. Like, I don't know, something.
We did
I
the
like,
Beyond this
I
time.
like watching people play that.
I'd like to see more like feature announcements or like changes announcements. Like for example, with so many new tile sets and even like reskins of the old axe, you know, you could have a significant amount more maps. That'd be nice. And someone was telling me yesterday, it's like, yeah, they're probably not gonna mess with Atlas, right? That would be such a nightmare, like changing things around. But what if they had this? What if they had, like, you know how like new Twilight Strand is brighter than old Twilight Strand? What if when you put in a map with a tile set, it could change the weather or like the lighting, so it's like either the old or the new version, and so you never know what you're gonna get. It's 50-50, and you're like, oh, I got Daylight Twilight Strand or something in my Strand map. I think that'd be nice. Or just like new features.
That would be
right?
sick, honestly. I feel like even though it doesn't really change anything, it still feels like it adds a lot of variety.
Yeah.
They added that to D3 ages ago, and that actually made that feel more impactful, because it's like, oh, seems slightly different now. Like we spoke about this on a previous episode. It's just like having even the slightest like I say difficult to change, but lighting change. It's anything just to go, okay, cool, you know.
Yeah, because like after you're done leveling, right, you don't see those zones ever again. All the new tile sets, all that stuff, it's gone. So like you still have, if you have the same exact maps, you don't get any snow, you don't get any like the lush stuff that's happening in like the first few acts. So what are they gonna do with that?
I think they did say that they will add new maps, but I feel like you're saying you want a Vol Ruins map. Is that what you're saying?
Vol.
I don't think they're doing anything. I don't think they're adding new maps to the Atlas with the release of this expansion. I think they have said that.
Yeah.
But I love your weather idea.
I think that's something that might be happening in the second league, because it's kind of like based on the 3.0 release, but it's not something that would need to be added right now. But it would make sense for them to add new tasks, like maps with the new tasks, the new bosses, like map versions of the new bosses, which could be super amazing as well. Because the boss fights are pretty good from what I've seen so far. But something I just noticed is they made it a lot harder for themselves to add maps with the Atlas, right? They can't just like release new maps as they used to in the past. They have to put them on the spot on the Atlas, think about like sextants and stuff. And also the Atlas kind of has a structure from like low maps going to higher maps. So if they add a map into a tier, it has to be like sorted in at the right point and 3-to-1 trading into all directions. They have to like, they can't just be like, here's a map.
Well, they can sort of do that. I mean, there are maps that don't trade. There are maps that don't do anything. You can always have the excuse of, well, you can shape another, because not all shaped maps vendor for something like that isn't already something you can buy from a vendor, right? So you can always add that up. They can sort of do it. I mean,
yeah,
more than
they could
anything,
make
it's
it
a
like
It
a-
basic
would mess
issue,
with
right?
the sextant positioning way too much, though. Like, it's like you need to kind of calculate you, because
Good.
physically you can't just like put something on there, because it's like it's all purposely like mapped out. So if anything you
I like
do
that
add has to be quite planned. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I would like them to like mess with sextant blocking a bit, but you can't just be like, oh, here's a tier 6, here's a tier, like it has to physically fit somewhere on it.
And they have to kind of like think about all the ramifications of, okay, we just put in tier 6 map in there. What does it mean? What if I shape this? Is it, like, what's the, like, what maps and sextants will affect it? They kind of have to think about it a little bit more than they used to, at least.
Also, don't they technically need to make 4? Like, they can't just add another tier 7 to one. Wouldn't that mess with like the way that it's broken up? When they have, if they want to add 7, they have to add a 7 for each corner.
Well, no, they could like be lazy about it and like put it on the edges and make it like a pier situation where like pier doesn't have any upgrades connected to it, and then like that's just like the lazy solution. But
Yeah,
there's like
the bottom right of the Atlas is kind of like that, where it's like not very many maps and like the tiers are repeating. It's like they did the Atlas this way and they just left the bottom right, and it's just kind of like, this will work. But I do like that idea though, that they would like, imagine if they wouldn't put an effort into the Atlas. Imagine if it was just a pool of maps, and let's say we'd have like 40 maps or something and whatnot, and every league, the Atlas would be, I mean, it can't be fully randomized, obviously, because of the way it goes to the middle, but like, it would change. I feel like that would be cool, because it would take players probably like even a month in some cases to figure out how specifically and what they want to do, and it would change the maps that they're running and all this stuff. Like, it would definitely be fun to figure that stuff out.
I think the one thing which is just like really telling about Atlas is it's like impossible to have any discussion about PvE without it devolving into Atlas. Like nearly every podcast we've had, just like it melts into this like shape. So whatever they do, that they have definitely put themselves into some kind of a corner. The fact that they have such like a rigid structure there.
Yeah, but it's so much power too.
Yeah, like there's a
so
lot
much
of potential.
control.
There's so much potential to it.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it would make sense too, right? Because they released like a end game expansion. Was Atlas the last league? No, there was something in between, right? Atlas and
Breach.
then something, and now it's
it was
this.
Essence, Breach, then Legacy.
Yeah.
And then Legacy
So
again.
now it's like early game and all that, right? Then probably a second thing where it's like sort of end game, sort of mid game, and then it's gonna be another like late game expansion maybe, or not expansion but league, and then they will really mess with all this stuff. I mean, it did take them like a full year or something to add drop burst to maps, full year of testing, So I would imagine they really don't. They're more cautious about like messing up the end game than anything else, because that's really what PoE does best, right?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Although I kind of hope that the next league, like the 3.0 league, has its strong point kind of in the end game, because all they did is change the leveling. So once you're through that, you kind of want something new in the end game as well. So I hope the new league will have its strong point in the end game.
Harbinger League.
It's about bows.
Harbinger.
Wait, is it Harbinger, or I thought it was always Harbinger.
Do you guys have Harbinger theories? My theory is that it's to do with like the minor gods or the gods or something like that, and something to do with map bosses maybe. With the buffing map bosses and trying to focus on that sort of thing being harder, and that would fit into the end game if like map bosses were harbingers of gods or something, and you ended up having some extra effect. Maybe like Shaper style effects where a god ends up inhabiting a boss, making them more challenging.
Like ghosts.
Google says that harbinger is a person or thing that announces or signals the approach of another. Spooky.
They could do a really cool if they ever went back to like the softcore hardcore leagues. I don't think they would, but they could do a really cool thing with I don't know if anyone ever played like Shadow of Mordor, the way they have that like nemesis system of like if you died to something it became more powerful. You could do really cool things with the Atlas if like characters die to a particular like map boss, that became more lucrative to kill and stuff. And yeah, I don't know.
What if they did this? What if they did the new maps are part of the Harbinger League? So like you kill a boss in a certain way or whatever, like just a random % drop chance, it drops like a new map and it's something like, you know, like Untainted Paradise or like just something with a cool mechanic. And then you go into that and then you go into that map. Maybe.
Damn.
I don't know.
I honestly haven't thought about this stuff at all. I haven't seen the thread. I just heard the name being thrown around. I was
that's all the info we have is just the name. But the name is very descriptive. Like the definition of harbinger definitely sounds like something that connects to a god or a boss or something like that. So someone in my chat actually had a pretty good idea that. So Beyond was kind of their take on. Beyond was their take on. Fucking Breach was their take on Beyond, all right?
Right.
So Breach is related to Beyond and kind of like them rethinking the mechanic and redesigning it, and that went really well. What if this was like something that was their take on Invasion? So Invasion was like an extra boss in each zone. What if Harbinger is another kind of take on the Invasion idea?
Make it a two-parter. What if this league it would be like the preparation of like because it's the Harbinger stuff, right? So it's preparation that they're coming, right? And really think about it, like what else is there left in Baeclast? We're fucking killing gods at this point. So in Baeclast, I'm like Baeclast. Wait, Baeclast is the one. There's like not really much left, right? We're killing bosses, we're killing gods, we're killing these massive beasts, and now we've got these harbingers coming in, like preparing. Terraforming the world, so to say, and then you have to go to them, right? To the gods of like Breach or Beyond or something like that.
We're going to Argus.
God, nice WoW memes. Nobody's gonna get that, Tarke.
There's like one dude who's playing Legion, like, dude, I got that reference.
I don't even play Legion, but I'm like a WoW lore freak, so I'm caught up on all that shit constantly. But I mean, if they make it a two-parter, right? They did say that this is sort of a filler, so you don't get the gods of Breach or whatever themselves, and that would also work into the somewhat limited Pantheon system currently, I think. A lot of people would agree.
Don't get me started on Pantheon, man.
Yeah, we'll get there. But, you know, it would be something that would expand upon that, and because they don't have that much time to put into this, it is preparation for those fucking big dudes coming in.
I really like the idea of having a two-part league where kind of like maybe something like have a community type goal, like kill that many of those harbinger dudes or whatever, like some goal that if the whole community kills this amount of like 100,000 of these dudes, like it has to be pretty good. Like they have to hit the number pretty much on the head, so it's hard to get it as a community, but it's possible. And if we get like the more we reach from that goal, the more like rewarding the next league will be, and like the more interesting it will be. Maybe they add something for that. So we actually have something to work for the next league, but it can't be something where you collect something for yourself because you don't want to advantage the next league personally, but just for the whole community. And I think that would be kind of a cool thing where everyone would like pull on the same string together for once, which is very un-Baeclast-ish, but maybe against a common enemy trying to invade us.
Exactly.
Sounds pretty cool.
How does that
work? That's why these breaches are so small. But like that's what it was on WoW though. Yeah. And it was a really cool event to anybody who's played a WoW a really long time ago is the Anchorage, right? That entire servers had to come together to like open up these raids and stuff, and this would be the same thing. And it would make sense too that we've got these like small breaches and small beyonders coming through kind of slowly, but now when they're like full force, you know, we have to come together.
It sounds like a really cool idea, but how would it work with something like SSF? would it be like the entire hardcore league and
SSF,
softcore
dude.
league,
It'd just
or
be
the
everything.
entire economy kind of thing, like the
I'm
entire
guessing
player
like
base?
everything.
Like every
but
Absolutely
player.
everyone together.
my
That'd be
question
nice.
is to you, Yoji, what happens if we don't reach it?
I mean, that has to be like- that has to be
obviously
like-
they'd do it if we reach it, but
There has to
if
be
we don't
like
reach it, like
stages,
we guys
right?
don't get a challenge league next time.
If we just
You
all
fucking
don't play, I
failed.
mean, okay then.
No,
But like,
there would
I
be
think there have to
tiers
be
of
like
it.
stages, like maybe like 10 different stages. If we reach like stage 8 or 9, it's still pretty awesome. I mean, if
Like
everyone's
stretch,
like,
stretch goals. Ooh.
yeah,
Cool.
but if we get
People
something
will
like,
figure it
I don't
out.
know, if we reach like 2, then obviously the league wasn't a success, and they maybe should think about different challenge league for next league.
No, but
It-
that's the fun part, no? That like we reach 2, and GGG is really good about that, right? Like making things that don't really seem that exciting
Mhm.
really fucking fun.
That's true.
So if they have these like 10 stages and we only reach 2 because people aren't that interested, it's a new mechanic like coming together, like it's sort of dance gamey. But then you see the 2 stages next league and it's really fucking good, then everybody's gonna want to reach the 4th and then the 10th,
Yeah.
and people are gonna get excited about the system.
They could
It's-
do this whole thing within one league, which was kind of like what they were doing before, where, with like warbands, how they introduced stuff later on, so the league evolved over time. And I've been wanting to see more of that, because like halfway through the league, something else unlocks and something else happens. That kind of like reinvigorates the excitement in the league. And this concept could work in just within the one league. Like, if the community works together and achieves these goals, then certain things will happen in the league. And it's like, whoa, that'd be exciting, man.
It sounds like a really cool idea, but the second you're promising to do anything based on goals, it becomes like very easy for the player base to become like negative towards it. Also, anyone who remembers the stuff to do with like augment your pre-order with, what game was that? Where it's like, depending on how many pre-orders we get, we're gonna make this extra content for the game. Like it rides a very similar line. I like the idea of like, you've completed a goal, so now you've unlocked a new zone or a new boss has come out during that league. But the idea of unlocking goals for the next league is like, either people will overachieve and then GG are like sparked, is like, shit, we have to do all these things because the community engaged with it so much. Or we like underachieve and then they run the risk of people being like, oh, now you're holding back content because I didn't kill Shaper after you nerfed all my builds. GGG, why are you nerfing my builds? I can't complete your goals, and it'll get like into silly stuff.
They can build it around personal challenges, right? Like just like if it's challenges, those alone are rewarding enough for people to do them.
Yeah.
This would just influence more people to do them, right? It's like that a little bit of an extra incentive. Like for me, for instance, I don't fucking do challenges unless there's a cool monkey pet. There was a cool monkey pet, I did the challenges. No cool monkey pet, I don't do the challenges. I need that extra incentive.
I really like the idea. I feel like it's something which, from a PR point of view, just wouldn't be worth the aggro. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, we've never had something that like brings the entire community across all leagues together to work on something. I mean, and then like no matter what it is, I think people are gonna figure out a way to really like cheese it or get to that level. Like let's say it was something like retarded, like 1 million Shaper kills or something, right? Then you'd have like streamers who would be like do it, and then every time they get to Shaper, they just invite 3 people in to get like 4 kills all at once, or like someone will just multi-box and like do it like over and over. So I think we shouldn't underestimate any kind of goal that they set.
That just made me think of the best like next level scammaz. All the streamers make like a Shaper union and they refuse to kill Shaper unless they've reached a donation goal. Just like, you just see Mathor just like, no, my builds aren't Shaper viable unless I've had 15 subs today. 15 subs, right? I'm going to push everyone forward one. You get like suddenly, or everyone
What's bad
is...
about that? What's the problem?
I don't see any problem with that at all whatsoever.
Oh,
Yeah.
500 loots, boys. Let's do Uber at Zeri. Like, what?
Click the lights. Click the lights.
All-time number one
I can see
streamer.
Rise doing that, then he goes in and dies to Shaper. That would be perfect.
Samantha will be the number 1 streamer. I would be the number 2. I like this idea. Very good. Very good.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe. It'd be interesting. But, is there anything else that you want to cover about Mayhem before we move on, Rice?
I think we're good.
Okay.
If you guys haven't played it, I guess I can mention to anybody who's seeing this live. If you're not playing it, if you're part of the Legacy crowd, or maybe you just tune in just for Baeclast, try it out. It's lasting a week longer, I think. It's a 2-week race, so there should be half of it left still. And even if you think like, oh, I shouldn't try it out, is it too late to try out the race? No, try out the race. Even if you're not racing, it is really fucking fun content.
Yes, try it. Don't be stupid. Who cares that it's voided? Fucking everything turns to dust eventually. All things are temporary. This universe will eventually die, hate death. Just try it out.
Just the leveling experience of having
try it out. It's fun.
Inside your face in every leveling zone. Even if you don't get like anywhere, like even if you die like in normal or whatever, it's super fun.
Yep.
I did like a small one. Cute dog where fucking full force. It's still exploding in the back.
Ziggy just forced me into an existential crisis here. What do I do in playing PoE?
What's the point of not having fun?
I gotta go now, guys.
Half of the GGG development team just committed Senpuku on the spot. Like, no, fuck this.
Chat's also dying.
Yeah.
Deep.
I mean, we all know Ziggy's known for being positive, right?
Yeah. the day that like Ziggy finally cracks and becomes like the most emo repressed streamer on Twitch.
I draw that positivity from the eventuality of the heat death of the universe, you know? Well, we might as well enjoy the time we have here. All things temporary, bros. Who cares if things are voided?
on the
life
next...
might be voided as well, so okay.
Yeah. On the next...
We're all voided in the end. Life is voided.
Life is voided.
On the next leap year, Ziggy, I think for like a month we should do a swap where I only make like super positive videos and you're like, oh, Reddit, I need to complain about this completely insignificant thing. Oh, I think
Alright, deal.
Good swap. But, so, damage over time changes to get into a nice QQ. They've changed. Ziggy, you've like gotten all the behind the scenes talkings. Do you want to give us like an introduction into how it all works?
You kind of, what are you doing to me, bro? You like put on the
that's what I'm
title. It's like Ziggy D and Mark Little Secrets Unveiled. What the fuck, bro?
Oh, that wasn't me actually. Okay, for the record, that is Nape. Wait, no, Napevation. No, Vape. No, Napevation. That's one of Cute Dog's mods or something. He does the overlays. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And there's not secrets. You've just actually taken the time to like give proper feedback and get a proper reply.
And actually, I didn't even read that topic.
It does say Little Secrets Unveiled.
I thought that was a spicy meme by Ziggy.
Yeah,
you already said it.
Okay, so let me talk about the thing, I guess. Okay, so I spent like a week back and forth with Rory and Mark, just fucking breaking down in minute detail everything about the new element system and how it functions. So for bleed poisons and ignites, and I wrote out like a technical document and had Mark go over it and then rewrote it based on his suggestions, and then had him go over it again, rewrote it again, have him go over it again, and I'm kind of just like putting together all that information. Once I've kind of finished a few things that I want to do with it, I'll like make all that information public. But basically, I feel with pretty good confidence after this, and it took some serious work to get here, that I understand the new element system. If you guys have any questions or want to discuss any aspects of it, feel free to ask. It's
so
kind of funny.
Like 1 week of intense.
It took me a week of intense study.
I mean,
we
I
have a
understand
PhD in
the
ailment system right now.
I understand the new element system. I will say, after that, and it's kind of funny, this obviously sounds stupid, but after that, the new system is actually kind of simple and works pretty nicely. It's kind of elegant in a way. It's just really fucking confusing to adapt from the old system to this new system, because it is basically a completely new system. If you try and compare it and think about it in terms of the old system, you're just going to really confuse the fuck out of yourself. But, I mean, it's even spawned a meme now where everyone's, like, asking me if all these different things are double dipping, because I'm, like, the top of my document, literally, the first thing in there is the phrase double dipping is now officially dead and removed from our vocabulary. Please don't use the term double dipping anymore. You're going to confuse yourselves and other people. There is no double dipping at all.
Yeah, that's true. I think I got the element system down pretty much as well. Like at least the basic systems. I maybe don't know all the like exceptions, but I know how the basics work. And yeah, there is no double dipping.
There was constant surprises, man. Like learning this shit, like learning that about ailment crit multi, for example, which is called specifically, if I scroll down here, it's called damage multiplier for ailments from critical strikes. just rolls off the tongue. It's beautiful. But that's a separate stat. It's just not listed on character sheets. Hopefully they add it to the character sheets. That's a completely separate stat that has a base 150% multiplier, just like your regular crit multiplier does, and it only applies to ailments. Perfect Agony adds to that by converting the other stat to the ailment multiplier stat.
Because your ailments can basically crit as well, which is very unlike the current system.
It's there's so much stuff like that. There's just like constantly I was discovering like, oh my god, that's how it works. I had no idea. So it's been a journey, but yeah. Any aspects of this you guys want to discuss? I have like this. I'll show you my technical document here. If it, it's very bright. Oh my god, we can't see anything. Never mind.
Listen, I'm taking the Tarke route. I'm just happy that there is a physical person that we can reach on social media to blame for all this bullshit. You know. Because Mark, I can't really get to Mark. I mean, I can send him an email, but I can't see his tears. But when it comes to Ziggy, I mean, whole different story.
So, hang on. So just so we're clear, since you've taken this upon yourself, Ziggy, if anyone from now until the next like big double disciplinary rework makes a Ignite-based build, you're willing to review it? That's what you've just said, right?
Fuck no.
Also,
because I really want to work on some builds, but I think I might just need to send you all of my videos first.
Alright, there's some rules here. There's some boundaries. I'm not going to answer math questions. Ask path of building. Fuck that. I'm not answering math questions. I can tell you how it works and like how the things happen. I'm not doing your calculations for you. Fuck that. That's out. And I'm not reviewing your ailment build. I can just answer questions on how the mechanics work. Okay. Let's draw boundaries here. Clear boundaries.
But are we talking like mechanics, or have you actually like played around with this stuff? Because like I haven't played with any of the new supports. I've only played the beta when it first launched. I haven't done any of that stuff yet.
Yeah, I've done some testing, and it was actually a pretty key part in learning a lot of this stuff and finding things that figuring out things I didn't know was like testing this stuff in the beta and seeing how it works. But what we've been able to do in the beta has been pretty limited with the wipe looming over us and with incomplete builds and all that. So I've tested it, but not to the point where I can say like, this new system is really balanced, or this new system is really good, or ailments are bad or ailments are strong or whatever. You can't say that at the moment. Like anyone who says that should just talking out their ass.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Because it's this really awkward thing right now where you have people who are making like builds on the beta, and then people are like, oh, how's your build? And most people are like, yeah, it seems a bit weak. Like, because most people are trying Ignite based stuff. Everyone who's like doing old school LE Bladefire or whatever, like that, they're all saying, yeah, it's great. And then the feedback's always kind of like, oh, it's still a beta, you can't really complain. And then there's also this whole thing of like, well, we're missing Merc Ascendancy, Uber Ascendancy, we're missing like 10 skill points from different acts. Like, what real purpose does this beta sort of serve? Because it's very awkward to kind of know.
It is super freaking awkward, especially because... So I'm trying to like look at these changes they've announced recently with how they're like nerfing some of the support gems and stuff like that, and it seems really bad. You're like, ooh, they already seem kind of weak. This is like, is this just going to be edgelord builds? But it's like we can't actually even really evaluate this properly because there's just so many missing parts. Like I've been talking to Rory about this a fair bit, and I haven't really gotten like specifics on the stuff they're changing, but it sounds like there's a lot of, like, even reworks still happening. Like, Bleed potentially is getting reworked. Yeah. And Puncture as a skill is probably getting reworked. There's a bunch of stuff that still hasn't happened yet. So it's like we have, like, 1/10. I feel like we have, like, 1/10 of the equation. So it's really freaking hard to actually evaluate where this is at.
I see what you're saying. So, end of August, more reasonable.
Maybe. End of September.
Yeah.
Every minute, end of August is more.
I'm predicting a very firm August 5th, 2018. Like 100%, 100% by August 5th, 2018, we will have 3.0. I can guarantee.
You're technically correct.
Yes.
Aki, can you make like since you are the master of predictions, what's your prediction for trade in the game?
Trade? I can guarantee that by the time we're all streaming Diablo again, there will have been some trade improvements in the RP genre. But I think that
sounds. It's a sound prediction.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like going back on the whole, like it's very hard to kind of make sense of the recent changes. The main one which really like stuck out was Perfect Agony, go from 75% to 30% multi. and then decay going from, like, it was doing something stupid like
half, right?
1000. It was doing more damage than level 25 ED at level 20, then they like cut it by 50%. The thing which seems really strange to me, and I made a video talking about decay, and then after the decay nerf, I got loads of it like, Tarke, you were the reason they nerfed decay. You made one video, and I was like, whoa,
I was gonna do that. I decided not to.
Yeah.
I also thought about it actually, but no.
But the thing which is really funny about that, so the main complaint I had in that video wasn't actually that decay was like too crazy. It was that it completely dominated leveling, which it still does with the 50% nerf, because the nerf only happens at top end. And the best way of scaling it was through kind of like what I would consider abuse, because it was like Fire Nova Mine has the more damage per stages, that gets buffed in there, Incinerate, Shield Charge. The way you could scale it with like minion trap and totem damage, that's like the last remaining bit. It's not double dipping, but it's kind of like you can use mind damage. Please don't Ziggy. But you can use mind damage. It will scale, and then it will also scale your dot. And then the thing which I found kind of frustrating is they said, oh, we've seen that decay has some like problem areas, so instead of fixing like the abuse mechanics, we've just cut it in half. Meaning if it's ever going to be viable, only be through extreme abusable scaling. Which seems really weird. Like, why not just fix the scaling or I don't know. Like, yeah.
I think the numbers, even without the scaling, seem a bit high on decay because it's a support gem, and you still have an active skill that can also do damage on top of it.
Yeah.
Decay is such a weird thing to add to the game because it's like, it is a skill, but without being a skill gem. Like, it gives you your skill's damage, and it sets this weird baseline. Like that.
You get a delirium weapon too.
Gouda released the video where it was like, this is the bare minimum clear speed your build can have. If your build clears slower than this, then use decay, and your build will clear faster. Like, that's the new floor for clear speed, is how much damage decay deals. It's so weird. Like, you can take any skill at level 1 and add decay to it, and then you just have a decay skill. It is a very odd support gem. Yeah. It is very odd.
But I think it's a really cool take on the whole gem system. I think I said that on the last episode as well, where you basically have to think the other way around, because your damage is like you're scaling your support gem, and all you're choosing is the means to deliver your decay dot, which is kind of like a new way to design PoE skills. I guess they could do that with in other ways as well.
Well, I kind of like that though, because like, especially for leveling, because generally for leveling, like dot skills put you at a pretty high risk. So I kind of like it that it's strong, because sure, you can increase your clear speed with like any build, but at the same time, you are putting yourself at risk versus something like stunning, unless you're like decaying and stunning and everything at the same time.
When you can just put it on your whirling blades, not even like shield charge, which has the multiplier thing, even not abusing that. I was using on whirling blades, and you can whirl through white or champ packs and just kill them with the decay damage without any other links linked to it, without any scaling. And it's like, why do I have any main skills when I can just whirl through? And that's, clearing with your move skill is obviously the way to go as far as, leveling speed.
If it's that OP, then of course.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's the thing, it's still like that, though. That's the thing which doesn't make sense to me. So, like, when I first leveled through decay on the beta, it was, you just drop it. As long as you proc it, it will clear every single pack. And then for a boss, you might need to proc it twice. Because they have nerfed the duration, so it's harder to cheese now. It used to be a 10-second duration, it's now only an 8-second duration, and it doesn't scale with skill effects, so it's a set 8 seconds. But, like, whenever you get to something which you can't one-shot, you just proc it, and then you just, like, hide around a corner kind of thing, and then you come back and it's dead. So it makes bossing really easily. And there's also a thing where you can apply the decay, TP out, re-enter the instance, and it dies while you're immune. I was doing that to, like, level all the way through.
Beta, come on.
Well, no, I did it once as, like, a meme, and then it was like, okay, I need to do this for everything I ever encounter now. So, yeah.
It's a next level cheese, eh?
Yep.
Immune killing the bosses.
You're talking from a leveling perspective, though. Like, shouldn't leveling have certain ways to, like, just kind of breeze by it if you want? Like, it shouldn't be like this.
I think after you've leveled your first character.
Not on your first character.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
That's what
Because I was thinking
leveling
like
is,
because I was thinking like
essentially, right?
Abras hooves and stuff is like just as cheesy. You know, you
Yeah,
kill
that's
every
good.
pack in one step and stuff like that. So
But you,
that
yeah,
does take
but,
a little bit more investment.
You have
Yeah,
to
but
earn
to-
that. That's
yeah, you don't get them as quest rewards.
Yeah, you don't get it at level 38. That was the issue with Decay and might still be the issue. Like, with pre-nerf Decay, it without a doubt would be the best League starter build. Like, you get a build which is good at applying Decay, it will rush you through the entire leveling process. You can, like, farm the equivalent of Dry Blade to get currency, you then transition like you do with Flame Blast items. It would just become that. And it might still just become that, to be perfectly honest. But...
Someone just said Abras plus Decay. Can you talk that to
You can do
Abras?
it. Yeah, you can.
So funny. I mean, hey, in the past though, like I don't really remember. Has Gigi ever had a track record of nerfing something heavily, then bringing it back up to like something that's so widely used? Because the way I see this is like there's so much time between now and 3.0 that they could bring it back up, right? Because here's what I'm thinking. If you nerf it a little bit, right? Because you don't want to like make people pissed off. If you nerf it a little bit and then you find that you need to nerf it again, that feels bad, right? Because then people who are playing, they're like, oh, I just got nerfed twice, and then maybe even a third time. Whereas if they nerf it once, it doesn't feel as bad, and there's like a chance that now that's a downtime in PoE, people coming back to the game, they won't even know, right? Because you know how like people cry a lot over like so-called nerfs, either like as big or as small as they are, and they won't even like play or use that thing or that mechanic if they hear it's been nerfed. I think if they start with like a huge nerf and then bring it back up, it's less damaging like psychologically to people thinking about using it. So maybe they'll.
Yeah, I suspect that's what they're doing with Perfect Agony as well. Even though this is in the beta, and really, like, I hesitate to use the words nerf or buff when it's in a beta. It's like these things aren't released yet. This is just like them continuing to find the point. But yeah, maybe I feel like Perfect Agony, they might have like brought it down to the level that they're nerfing it to, and then you'll bring it back up from there, because that's kind of where it seems where it's at.
How do you feel about Perfect? Like, that's the one thing, like, just before I shut up.
Yeah.
It's the extreme numbers. Oh.
Where I was saying that the other stuff I feel like we can't really talk about yet. I feel like we can actually talk about Perfect Agony. It's so where it was before, and I agree that it needed to be changed, because where it was before, it was like pretty much any ailment build you were going to take it, which, I mean, you could say that's not an issue, and if you feel like that's not an issue, then that's I guess that's reasonable. But I do feel like that sort of thing is an issue. You know, too much homogeneous in homogeny, freaking whatever, in builds is
I'm Polish.
homogeneity, homogenization. I don't know, homogenization amongst builds. Yeah, everything being the same is a problem. But where it's at now after the change at like 30%, is like it's only going to be used on assassins. Is that better? I think that's worse.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we have this thing everyone uses, but at least it's like something new that is actually used. And now we would have, hey, you have this thing that almost no one uses.
Here's the assassin keystone for your assassin bleed poison builds.
But that's like the Guardian keystone as well. Zealot's own, which nobody else uses.
No, like some things do take it, but like the thing is that,
for example, or maybe.
any
everyone
occultist or like
in
minor builds,
3.0,
like
they might.
a lot of assassin like miners would root for the power charge, and they'd be 1 point away from it, so they'd be like, oh, I'll just pick up for a point, and then it saves the flask slot. People like, it's not like a super popular, but there were some things which did it, like some netcros took it, some occultists took it, some like assassins took it for the power charge. But like the thing which seems kind of weird though is, I don't feel like every build would have gone perfect, because there's still Ellie Overload. Like, Ellie Overload was still a thing. There would have been some builds, some Ignite-based, which would have gone for that over Perfect Agony, and also there's, like, you can't crit with Caustic Arrow, you can't crit with ED. So there still would have been some, like, I know they're not really poison, they're, like, degen, but there still would have been some diversity and kind of, like, these are like the Chaos degen builds, here are like some Ignite builds, and then yeah, if you're poison, it's the thing of they put all the poison nodes on the same part of the tree as all the crit nodes with the crit keystone, and the Ascendancy, which is really good for crit and poison, is a set. Like, yeah, what do you expect when you put everything just in the same kind of like quadrant? But
just to be clear, in case something you said there confuses people, Perfect Agony doesn't work with things like Caustic Arrow and Essence Drain and Fire Traps, Burning Ground, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It only works with specifically ailments, as in bleed, poison, ignite.
Yeah. And that's a big... So, like, basically everything which seems to be burn-based has been, like, crazy buff. Like, all the burn-based builds are doing amazingly.
Scorching Ray is so good in 3.0,
yeah,
man.
like,
Oh my god, it's so crazy.
The thing which I found
That'll be
really
my
funny
build
about
choice.
Scorching Ray is anyone who watches my stream regularly knows that I've spent ages talking about Scorching Ray. I saw Moore's... it was a pretty trashy build. Even he said it was a trashy build, but he played, like, a max block Guardian. It was like, he could face tank anything, but it would take him, like, 8 years to clear the content. And he'd be like, this is the unkillable build. And I was like, how could you make that do damage? And I spent ages, like, making this thing, and I saw 3.0, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be brilliant. So day one of beta, I was super hyped to play my, like, Scorching Ray build, and they're like, oh, everyone's playing Scorching Ray. I check, it's like, Pox, Ziggy, I'm like, oh, fuck. I was so excited to play Scorching Ray in 3.0, and now I'm just like, I can't play it now. It's like, oh god, Resident Sleeper Tarke.
Speaking of guys, we should really form like a streamer group on Skype and let each other know what builds we're gonna play, so we don't all play the same build.
Just so we're not,
You're the
maybe
one
not
saying
everyone's
this,
playing the
Ziggy.
same shit.
You're the worst when it comes to this, dude. Whenever I rolls, you instantly roll the same shit. Always, every time.
I never
It's like,
look at what other people are playing. I just play my
oh
build,
my god,
man.
dude. It's every time. It's like explosive arrow. Oh, Ziggy started.
I
I'm
remember
like
that.
a day into leveling. He's like, oh, Ziggy's playing that too. And like, what was it?
You guys
Did
actually the reason
Did you
I
play
never
Sunder in the
played
beta or something?
I played
Can't
Sunder
Yeah, you played
in
Sunder.
Legacy.
There was something like very recently that was also like that. I was like, this motherfucker.
But you guys are actually the reason I never played EA, because like whenever I'm like, I could play EA at some point because I like bows and EA is like really cool and whatnot. And whenever I want to play EA, I'm like, why is all the EA gear so expensive? Oh, Rise is playing it again. Oh, Ziggy is playing it. And it's like, it's always
I know,
whenever I
I-
decide to play it.
Everyone always asks why are all the streamers playing X build, and I'm like, what really? And I'll look and I was like, oh my god, how does this happen? Why do we always end up playing the same builds?
I'm
They don't
looking
plan this
forward
shit,
to
I
that
swear.
happening with like Ellie bows, because they haven't changed Barrage. Like Barrage is going to be like the fucking tier 1 single target. Everyone's been playing like Doomfletch, and I've spent an entire league of being shit on for playing bows. I'm waiting for 3.0, and I was like, Tarke, man, why aren't you playing these cool bow builds? They're so good at single target. I was like, you pricks.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting topic. So the ailment system, in the recent post, they said they feel like the damages of ailments are close to where they want them to be, which is at a level that seems a good whack lower
Yeah,
than
really low.
your decent hit builds, and then quite a bit lower than your obscene hit builds. And I think like the main thing they're working on now is just making sure there's good diversity and good options amongst ailments, and that all that stuff's there. Does that, like, I feel like that has to mean that they're also going to tackle hit builds, right? To bring them down to a similar level. Because otherwise, what's the fucking point of, like, making ailments balanced if they're shit compared to other things? No one's going to play them. It's just going to be hipster builds.
Yeah, also damage over time is like an inherent weakness at some point. Like, yes, people always say it's an upside if you only have to hit like every once in a while to deal your damage. Like Essence Drain is pretty safe for
You can't
boss
leech,
killing.
man.
But
No
you
leech.
can't leech, and the other thing is that, for example, stuff like poison, which stacks, you kind of want to still hit often, so it doesn't even have that. But like, if you do more damage in a hit than your dot would do, there's no reason to have the dot, because you might as well do more damage and do it in an instant and one-shot the thing instead of like
And leech, so you can
waiting
sustain
and
on,
leech
like, face
at the
tank.
same time as well. Yeah, it's
It's like all the people who are like, but dude, Viper Strike DPS. So like, yeah, if you spend like a minute and a half applying max stacks, face tanking the boss, it's great. But you need to take into account that you just take Barrage build, put a bunch of max proj on it, just one shots anything.
dead.
I don't know. I feel like that's a problem, like inherently with PoE the way it is right now when it comes to like loot and stuff. Because in the past that would be the case for sure, that like all these dot builds would, like, now when you think about it, there's no reason to have a dot build that will deal exactly what Yoji said, right? That would deal with the same damage but over a course of time versus an instant hit with the same damage, right? But
Yeah.
in the past that would work really well, because the dot builds would deal slightly more damage, but it would be over some time, and in the meanwhile you could do all these things like, you know, fix your inventory, pick up shit off the ground, you know, position yourself better. While now there's no fucking positioning. You don't position yourself for anything. There's no loot picking up. Like the less stuff you pick up, the better.
Yeah.
Like you just don't do any of these things anymore, and that's where things like summoners and these dot builds kind of fail at. And it's going to be difficult to balance around these things because it's just better to one hit the thing than one hit it over the course of 3 seconds.
I really don't think we're going to see changes to, because it depends, right? I'm of the opinion that this base is going to be really drawn out. I'm expecting major delays. I think anyone expecting them to stick on schedule is kind of being very optimistic. But they would have to have announced some changes. Like, it's too late for them to do, like, massive parsing or reworks of just normal, like, hit. Like, just say the average,
I don't know,
any
man.
attack build.
I don't know. It sounds like there's a heap of shit they haven't announced yet. Like from just
wait.
I haven't like discussed specifics of this stuff with Roy, but it sounds like there's still a heap of shit they haven't announced or gotten to yet as far as style stuff they want to do.
I think the beta isn't even like the main course.
October for 3.0, what are you saying?
October.
I feel like the beta is just like a little bit, and then all the really good shit is coming in 3.0, like with the next act.
Yeah, with like acts and stuff, sure, but I worry about. I mean, I guess the argument you could make is like currently we can't really test any of the balance changes because we don't have the tools to. So if they did nerf like just straight up Ellie builds, would we really, or on attack builds I should say, not just Ellie builds, but would we really be able to test? I don't know. I feel like that's
so GGG though. Like
it really
I
is.
What
It's
you're
like
saying, but it's
2
so
minutes
GGG,
before
like...
the servers go live. Like here's the things.
It's like, we will give you patch notes 11 hours before the leagues open so you can choose a build, and then like it's been it's 6 hours until they still haven't released it. We're still fixing the patch notes. Like they released it 3 hours before. You're like, oh, where can I download this shit? And then you read the patch, it's like complete fucking rework of everything. It's like, guess I'm playing a different build.
My favorite
like,
is
so
when
GGG.
you get the really like last second patch notes, the last second passive skill tree, and then the like unannounced uniques back when they used to do that. So you'd be like, oh god, okay, so what am I planning? While you're like refreshing, right? Like, oh, I kind of want to remake around that. That looks kind of cool.
The good news for
I guess
anyone who doesn't like numbers is once the patch notes comes out, once all the development manifestos come out, some guy is gonna like, or whoever programs Path of Building, they're gonna put it all in there, and within like 2 hours, someone's gonna just figure out the top numbers for every like dot build, and then based on if you want to do boss killing or like speed clearing maps, you'll just go from there, right? You'll make adjustments from there. So you don't really need to. I think if you're like a casual player, you don't need to worry too much about it.
I think the problem is the current like viewpoint of dot builds is if the casual player made a dot build, they just can't do the content. Because I don't know, I tried doing Explosive Arrow in the beta, and yeah, that really doesn't seem fun. Like really doesn't seem. It was weird because it's one of those things of they added all of these new skill gems, but when you actually think about Explosive Arrow, where do you cut links? Like, a lot of these skills have kind of like these mandatory links. It's like, yeah, you've got these like 4 new ailment sports, but what do you cut? Like, you have to run EA, you have to run like GMP for general clear, then you're running like less duration, and then it's like, okay, so I put this in. A lot of like the dot builds, because of the way they've scaled them with the new things, they work on a 6 link, but the difference between a 5 and a 6 link on a dot build seems so much larger than just on an attack build. And that's like another really big issue when you're first starting out. And then when you add into the fact that they've crazy buffed the boss HP, it compounds all of these things. Like when you make boss HP so much higher than all the random trash mobs, your dot build then feels 1,000,000 times worse. So
actually, I meant to ask about that. How is because like when I was leveling on the beta, I was like, wow, my build is fucking trash. And then later on, we found out that they like doubled the HP of like all bosses, and now they reverted it again. It's back to what it is in 2.6, or
oh, that I didn't know about.
No, because
map bosses or regular bosses?
Just leveling bosses.
Oh, I didn't know that notice that changed.
I mean, that's what I've heard, but I'm not sure. That's just what I've seen. But like I haven't played it myself, so I just heard that they changed it back to what it used to be. Maybe that's not true.
I didn't noticed that. I don't think.
Oh, okay.
If anything, I
That's
thought
good.
the opposite. Like it's hard to tell because like the strength of the build. So on the beta, I've played Scorching Ray, Explosive Arrow, a Summoner, and Decay Mines. So like my first character, the Scorching Ray, face rolled everything. Second character was Explosive Arrow. I was like, oh, they've buffed the HP of the leveling bosses. I was like, no, this build is shit. And then I was like in maps like, oh, this seems like so much different. And then the Decay build like face rolled everything. And then it like teepers off when you get into maps because that's just how decay scaling works. And I was like, that seems okay. And then the summoner was just a summoner and it was fine. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't think. I think we're most likely just going to have a case so there'll be like 1 or 2 dot builds which work, and then the rest with the current scaling will just kind of be like, don't play those. I don't know.
Maybe.
But-
I mean, at least there will be lots of new stuff to like try out and figure out about the like dot system and all the other stuff.
So we've been pretty negative here. I want to bring up a few like kind of the positive points that I feel like have come out of the element system. So I've played a few of them. I played like some Viper Strike and I played a Tornado Shot, which was originally going to be a Puncture build, but Puncture's still trash. Tornado Shot's better Puncture skill.
I want to be positive. Puncture's still trash. No, sorry, continue.
I told Rory, Puncture's trash, bro, and he's like, yeah, we're probably going to rework it. I'm like, good. So yeah, I have to say though, like one of my main things that I really wanted to come out of this new system was that when you play an ailment build, it feels like an ailment build, and that has occurred. Playing like Tornado Shot Bleed Puncture it felt like an ailment build, felt really cool, felt different, and the even bigger thing was actually building it, like planning on the passage tree. You play a different tree on a bow build, right? Oh my god, the tree's different. You route differently. You take different nodes. None of the bow nodes work, so you don't take the bow nodes.
That's just too much for me. I want to play the same passive trees I've played for the last 5 years. I'm not changing any nodes.
The worst part is the 5 years isn't even an over exaggeration that much.
Yeah,
like,
it's like legit.
fucking
Both
4
builds
years.
have been the same stuff like 4 years.
There was that one change to the passive tree where we routed slightly differently, but
Yep.
But yeah,
Like,
no, you play different
charisma
trees, man.
instead.
They're actually different builds, so that is like a very good thing for the new system to achieve. Variety, builds that feel different, feels like an ailment build. They've got that at least. It's going. It's doing that nicely.
But you said that the bow nodes don't work? Do they do like weapon specific?
No, anything
won't
that
scale
says
the ailment.
with attacks or with if it says attack skills, that's okay. But if it says with attacks or with a bow or with a sword or with an armed or whatever none of that works to scale ailments.
Wait, through the perfect agony or just?
Like for example, let's say you're playing.
If you get bow, that's the exception. Crit multi does apply with perfect agony,
Okay,
even
so,
if it says
yeah.
with a bow.
Okay.
But not like physical damage with bows. That does not scale, or like poison or bleed, because that's not being dealt with the bow. I guess.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Well, does it? Because didn't they change it so that weapon elemental damage scales ignites now?
They didn't. They changed that entirely because weapon elemental damage is no longer weapon elemental damage. It's now elemental damage with attack skills, and attack skills is fine because you're dealing your ignite with an attack skill. That's fine.
Gotcha.
So like explosive.
Once actually
arrow now
figured out, it
looks
makes
wet and
sense.
shit.
It's just a bit weird to adapt to.
Yeah. They just changed the wording of all the like weird
I have
stuff.
a long ass list here of things that don't scale ailments. Examples of things that don't scale ailments: increased damage with weapon type, attack damage, increased melee damage, projectile damage, area damage, spell damage, Assassin's Mark's extra crit, double damaged on hit mechanics like heavy strikes, weight of the empire, point blank, elemental penetration,
Do
etc.
you think it's time? I really want them to do an Ascendancy pass. I don't think they will, but do you think it's time for them to at least like actually reword a lot of the Ascendancies? Like Gladiator, for example, are all like with weapons.
Things need
and
to
stuff.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few of them need to be like with hits or ailments. They need to be changed to stuff like that. A few of them do. Yeah. So that's the sort of stuff I expect to just like polish up over the next month. You know, there's finding it's like how they over time just catching the skills that scale decay and stuff like that and changing the wording on that.
Yeah. I mean, I will definitely agree with you. Like the skill trees are a lot more interesting, but it does also.
It has to say.
Did I just freeze up? Or...
No, I think that was just like Ziggy just like.
as well.
Skype
Oh,
freeze.
sorry, do you mind saying that again? Sorry.
DDoS incoming.
Ree!
What? Robo mode.
Okay,
Everything was
continue.
frozen for me.
Yeah, it froze up. Scott died.
Okay. I think we're fine now, though.
Continue.
So what I was going to say is, while I will agree that the skill trees are very different, it does make it particularly difficult if you are doing, if you're trying to do life-based ailment, I noticed in the bottom right, it's really awkward, like, rooting into Duelist in particular. How did you manage to work that out as a ranger? Because it's like, you can't root through these proj nodes. So if you want to get, like, the life in Duelist and at the bottom, you kind of got to do this really awkward, like, in-betweeny path and stuff. So I don't know if...
Yeah, you kind of... a lot of the shit that you'd go around the outside for in every
Yeah.
bow build, you don't do now, so you just kind of cut through.
Yeah.
It's a lot less points spent, so you end up getting life elsewhere.
That's true,
Silent
that's true. Yeah. Alright. Well, while we're kind of, like, floating around stuff like that, so... Cute Dog, I'm not sure if you're aware, but there have been a few changes to a certain subset of Val skills, I think they're called.
It's not that
Full-time
bad.
PUBG
It's,
streaming coming.
Yeah. So I heard about this, and also besides that, there's like the sacrificial harvest limited to 1, which kind of sucks because now you get half the projectiles, and for like Vol Spark you need like 13 more mobs on average. Vol Fireball you need like 9 more mobs on average. So you're not gonna like get those mobs reliably, right? Because like sometimes there'll be a lot of times even in like unnerved state where like you'd have that little sliver of your Vol skill needed, and that was with like twice as many projectiles. But the thing that I don't like about this is that every other skill that was linked to like Spell Echo, or every other Vol skill that was linked to Spell Echo, or what's the other one, multi strike.
Yeah.
You just can't use those anymore. I remember trying to create a ground slam build, and even after dealing with accuracy, after dealing with all this like nonsense you had to do with melee, finally you got it working and you had multi-strike, and it still wasn't like anywhere near Vol Spark, Vol Fireball, right? So now you can't use multi-strike, and I'll play devil's advocate. Maybe Vol Spark, Vol Fireball was a little bit too much, right? Maybe you shouldn't press a button.
Maybe.
Maybe you shouldn't press a button. Press another button to like just zoom through the map in 30 seconds. Okay, maybe that's too much.
Just
But-
accuracy nonsense. What the fuck?
I mean, look, I just think it's too much. That's like, how many people do you think were playing a Vol Spark, Vol Fireball? A lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they just completely gut a lot of people's favorite skill. I don't agree with that
But
at all.
is it got it though? Is it because like I don't
They got
I
it
feel
a few
like
times
they might
already.
still work okay.
It can.
Like they definitely won't be
can-
top of the top, but it would still be like they were at least twice as fast as like the other
Mhm.
fastest builds. There was nothing coming like remotely close. And if you compare it to like most builds, are like 3 or 4, sometimes 5 times faster. If you compare it to like tier 2 builds even. So will they be now completely trash, or will they be more on the level of like I don't know?
I don't know. I think it's like this. I played, just to use an example that probably everyone knows, like Discharge, right? Like Cock Discharge. When they nerfed AoE, like the skill functioned the same, right? Cost Breeze was the same. It just does the same amount of damage. It's pretty damn good. But just that very small AoE nerf, making your shield charge not hit as many targets, things like that, that just made the feel of the build like so bad from someone who's played it in the past. So if you're a new player and you're picking up Vol Fireball, Vol Spark for the first time, you'll be like, yeah, it's an okay build. It's an okay mechanic. Like, I can play this. But if you've ever played a previous iteration of it, I don't think you'll be able to play the new one. So
That's what I've been hearing about EK, about Earthquake. Like, I've been having so much fun with Earthquake, and it's been really solid, but everybody's like,
I had that with
I can't play that shit. Like,
I had that with
AoE 's
Flame
so small.
Blast. I had that with Flame Blast. Like, it's still super strong, but the AoE is like, I don't know, let's say like 30% smaller with the same gear, and it just feels horrible to target because I'm used to the bigger targeting, and I played that so much. Like, I played like 3 Flame Blasters back to back. And same for Earthquake as well. Like, those two skills I played a lot, and it just feels so horrible going with this basically the same build, just it feels worse to play.
Yeah.
I'd rather play something else entirely.
I had that exact thing in Legacy. I hadn't played either an Earthquake or a Cyclone build for a really long time. And I was like, oh, let's just make a Slayer Lab Farmer, and I'll do it as Earthquake. I got Arctic, was like, this is literal AIDS. I can't play this. It's fine. I'll just go Cyclone. I put Cyclone in, and I wanted to kill myself. I was like, what is this range? They are. Ugh. Ugh. I've never been so happy to a character dying. I managed to like just kill myself on a reflect map, and you could literally like the second the character was dead, I was like, thank God, I'm free. I hated that build.
I really hope they will revisit the AoE changes at some point, and by at some point I mean like as soon as possible, because a lot of AoE skills just don't feel good anymore. Like even a lot of the ones that I kind of like to play, like Shock Nova or like the what's called Vortex, they are just like they get this character and you basically melee. Like it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I just tested it. I'm done. It's still OP. I took out the Spell Echo. It was on a 5-link, 1 Sacrificial Harvest. I fucking no difference at all for Fireball to me. I don't know. And that's what a slow self-found character. Like obviously there's gonna be a difference, but it's still gonna be strong, I think.
I could still see like Val Spark being a good build, but it would be like at that point it would be more of like a Spark build. Like it'd be like you use Spark to clear, and then you use Vol Spark to just like ditz everything.
Because Vol Fireball is more dependent on ignites.
Yeah, and that's probably not going to be that great in 3.0.
Yeah, doesn't seem that great.
Everyone just play EK Nova. It's fine. It's fine, guys.
You can't play EK Nova.
Play EK Nova.
Because you have to go live now.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's no
it's still a good build. It's still a good build. Like regardless of your, it functions mechanically
like
the same.
Inquisitor with like 7K.
Shield charge all the way through. It's like fine.
I mean, it's gonna be fine. It's just you have to play live with it now, I guess.
Yeah. Until a new unique item comes out, somebody pitch out $2,500 and make something that can leech ES the same way it used to be. And it's tier 0 rarity.
I'll pay fucking 10,000 to make something that removes Volpack from the fucking game. That's what I can tell you, dude.
Oh god.
Just make an item that globally removes Volpack for everybody.
Can we please take... Oh, go on, Ziggy.
I was gonna say, if I feel like if they removed Volpack, the game would get better for everyone, including EOS builds.
Oh my god, so much.
Could we
maybe rework Leech to something that people... It would be like
freedom. It would be freedom for them to develop the game.
That's true. But maybe they have to rework Leech into something that people can actually like understand, because nobody ever bothered to like know how Leech rate and Leech cap and all that kind of stuff works, because it's either it's shit or it's Valpack.
Yeah.
That's basically how it is right now. So they would maybe have to look at Leech again. Like
it's like Slayer, you don't use it, or you're Volpacked.
Yeah, Slayer's the only option you are.
Every time I went to Leech Slayer, I was just like, it's better when I get Volpacked. God damn it.
I like the Leech.
I do. I love the Slayer Leech, man. It's so fun. Like I take it I stick with it even though I know that I'm still better off with Volpacked. But I will say this, like, I know we like to have fun and have a giggle at D3, but one of the best changes they ever made to their game was removing instant leech.
Yep. No, I agree with that 100%.
Yep, I
think
so as well.
Big improvement for the game. The combat became much more interesting.
Do you think you could, like, Percy, do you think you could see them removing Volpacks now at this point? Like, so many people kind of like, well, if you're going to gut it, just gut it completely.
Yes.
Yeah, just do it. That's basically my point on it. Just do it. I mean, if you can't like balance the rest around that later, just remove it now and see what the meta is.
I imagine as a developer, it must be hard to remove something that you've had in the game and put so much work into trying to make it work, right? This is like Keystone that's been around forever, and
that's the issue. It's so, but like you can really I cannot understand it. Like there are mechanics in the game that are annoying, but they serve a purpose. But I feel like Volpact at this point is just like this thing that, even though it's beneficial for characters, sets everyone back because everybody's like, I have to do Volpact, or that guy's doing Volpact, so fucking there's no way my character's gonna do nearly as well. It's the same for the cannot die stuff. Like it doesn't create anything. Like it doesn't do anything. Just get rid of it. I don't know why
It's worse than even that, like how it affects people's build choices, because it affects how they have to balance the combat in the game. That's like the biggest impact that it has. It's like they have to balance around that.
Yeah,
more
bosses
than
have to
anything
be
else.
challenging even if you instantly leech your half your HP
Yeah.
per second, like 10 times per second. That's basically how it has to be.
Then you'd have to change the reflect, like for sure, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe like the race course boss reflect.
It
'cause
lets them change reflect. That's the way I prefer to look at it. Once they remove Volpack, it lets them change these things and make them more
because
interesting.
volatile's already like not really an issue anymore. So
Yeah, the new
now
volatile
it's just
was good.
reflect that's like booty blasting you. So if they change that, then Volpack's just like whatever.
I want to clarify one thing just so you hear. So like when they did the volatile change, everyone was like, "Oh, new volatile," but where's the reflect change? So in your videos, Ziggy, where you said they're like reworking reflect and volatile, was that you just saying that, or is
No,
there still?
Rory did say that to me.
So we're still
Like,
expecting
so-
a reflect change then.
Yeah, they could change their minds, right? Like,
Yeah.
none of this is guaranteed. But that's what I've been saying, right? Like, we still got a month in this beta, and there's still a ton of shit that it seems like that they haven't even like talked about or announced or anything yet. That's on their kind of like to-do list. And Reflect is probably an example of one of those things. So maybe Reflect still is getting a rework. It just might be later.
Yeah.
Maybe they're
But they-
removing Volpack halfway through the beta.
Oh, leaked juicy little secrets.
Maybe.
What I'm wondering though is they just in the beta added 50% reflect immunity to Scion Slayer and Scion
Yeah.
Elementalist, and that kind of made me wonder if they were like actually reworking reflect so that you don't have to like get those notes anymore. Why would they do that? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, okay, it could go either way, right? So I thought about that, and I'm like, maybe they've decided to not rework Reflect instead of just giving this, or maybe they change Reflect, make it more dangerous, but make it something you can play around with skill. So like an on-off sort of thing, you know, etc. Like various things we've talked about in the past. But and then as an alternative to being skillful, they add these new things that deal with Reflect. You can take nodes instead if you don't want to be skillful. Maybe so it could go either way, those changes.
I mean, they could also make it like really assholey, like where you, for instance, you're going through a map and then you see a reflect mob and it periodically gains the reflect, right? So like every 10 seconds it has reflect for 4 seconds, but it's not like when you engage the mob, it's just randomly. So then you're bursting through a map, like that. Isn't that kind of what they did in Diablo 3?
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that
Yeah.
Diablo system? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
That-
fun,
it needs-
right?
it needs
Because
to be
sometimes you
done
don't
better
kill
than that.
yourself, but you're still gonna off-screen yourself if you can't defend yourself against reflect, right? Because every now and then you're gonna hit it just when it gained it. You just don't see it.
It's still
Just
be
like
better
the
than
same
right now,
system.
though.
Needs to be done better than that.
Yeah.
Like the best thing would be Reflect changes mechanically to where it returns an attack towards you, like it shoots a projectile back at you when you hit them or something like that you can actually avoid. Maybe something like that.
That
Would
would
be
be,
pretty
that'd be really
natural.
cool.
What if it was a
Fast-
dot?
Is that your
stuff.
idea, or Rory's?
No, this is just me throwing random shit out.
Okay. Are you sure?
Well, I don't know. I don't know
That
what
would
their
be
plan
really
was to-
cool, but like that would then make shotgunning even more of an issue. 'Cause it's like,
You like shoot like a fucking barrage and it's just
yeah, you just like straight shotgun yourself. It's like, oh, brilliant.
It's basically, I mean, that would be basically work like thorns, right? Where you just like ball lightning. Oh, I'm ball lightning. I died to thorns.
Yeah.
Whoop.
Whoops.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Well,
If
it's still
you
be better
actually
than
have
what it is now.
dodge
Right?
it.
I mean, did you see that
Couldn't do
dude
full
ripped to
damage.
grave blood? Like, it could get into that level of obscene stuff. You saw that on Reddit, right?
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean that was a bit much.
That was beautiful. So for anyone who didn't see it, so one of the invasion bosses is like, when he gets hit, he does a pulsing ice nova. And he does Abyssal Cry, procs Abyssal Cry like 30 mobs at the same time on 2 of them. And just gets like instantly glabled from like 10k ES or something, or 8k, I can't remember.
'Cause
how
it
much
looks
was.
like it's one nova,
Yeah,
but in
yeah,
all
yeah.
reality,
Yeah,
he
in
gets
reality
hit
it's
by
like
all the
hundreds
Abyssal
of
Cries. It's
novas,
like
yeah.
40 novas.
Yeah.
There's no
Kind of like
cooldown on
two
it,
bosses.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there's
cool.
no cooldown. No. It's like just
Invasion
capture
bosses are
damage.
pretty balanced.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, exactly. It's invasion bosses, right? And like
Yeah.
you're never. Well, I mean, I guess right now you could have like multiple reflects at the same spot at the same time, but with Volpact, that really doesn't matter unless you're inherent, like unless you're just leeching less, right, than you're
Yeah.
taking. Then if you're gonna hit 4, it will just exceed your HP, most likely.
But at the moment where you're leeching more than the reflect percentage, you never die, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. But I do like the suggestion with things shooting back at you. I mean, that's kind of what they did with volatiles, right? I haven't really played around with the new volatiles. I've only seen Ziz's video on it. sort of like it. I don't know if I love it, but I sort of like it. But I think that
It needs
would
to be
be a lot
faster.
better.
Like,
Yeah.
I think it just needs to be faster. I think it's like a great way to redesign it. It just needs to be faster. It's like the Frostbolt Duel where it speeds up over time. That'd be good. If it did that, you know, where it starts slow and then it goes and speeds up and then catches you.
Yep.
That'd
I
be
like
fun.
that. I like that it has the delay on the explosion as well. Like you can whirling blades through it to trigger it, and it will explode
Yeah.
and not hit you.
Good.
But that feels like really amazing to do. I imagine just like jumping through it and seeing it explode behind you.
It's
Now
nice.
fix Detonate Dead! Fix Detonate Dead now! Make it like the Mines boss. Fucking Detonate Dead, man. So bullshit.
I don't know. I
What?
just died.
No.
I just died to it, and I don't. I feel like we need shit like that in the game now. Like as long
No,
as
but it can
there's
be
like
better. Yes, we need dangerous things that can kill us in one hit, but they need to be
Yeah.
better than that. That's bullshit. Being off screen by totem detonating a boss. I mean, that's some
I mean,
bullshit.
you have so many ways of dealing with it. You can
Like
scope
not
it out.
being
You can get rid
melee,
of the
not
boss.
being melee.
I
or
just
not
rolled my
being
eyes so
melee.
hard that I
I
can't
mean,
build out
what's
of my
melee in the
chair.
game? What, you gonna heavy strike something? Melee is thunder. That's it.
I
So it's not
also-
really melee.
Sorry, I just thought of something really beautiful. Is if they did add in projectile reflecting, it would lead to so many amazing like PK videos. Because you have
Dude.
people reflecting their proj into
like
like
homing.
into
Like,
like
whoop.
support into melee and stuff. You just wait to like, oh mate, do you want a like little boost through Malachi or something? You just wait for that little reflector, just like LA one shot him. It's like, oh sorry bro, didn't mean to do
You
that.
shoot the guys behind you, it just goes back, and you're like, whoop. Slaps the guy behind you. Yes. Like a low level guy, you're like a really high level, so you're not gonna kill yourself anyway, but he's got like 500 life. Just pops him instantly. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Seems good.
That's good. Shit, with the removal of bandits, we need stuff like that. Or, well, changes to bandits, I guess.
Not
We
enough
stop
PK
stuff.
attempts anyway. Like
We
Yeah,
need
yeah,
like a PK highlights channel. Like if you ever watch like League fail or like Overwatch fail compilation YouTubers, we need that just for PKs. With dank memes, 360 no scopes. It's perfect. But since we're getting really off topic, there's the floating like Pantheon thing. Was there anyone wanted to say about the potential changes to Act 6 and Act 7, or should we just like talk about Pantheon in peace?
What about Act 6, Act 7? Just
So,
that they're adding more
Yeah,
mod
they've
diversity?
said that they're going to be doing additional work to improving monsters. Like, was there anything in your mind which like this needs to be improved over 6 and 7, or?
Just not just like more mob diversity. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think that pretty much hits it on the head. Like I think that overall that the this whole revisiting the axe thing is done pretty well, and it feels fresh and it feels interesting. I know some people disagree, and some people are like it's just reused assets. Fucking action RPGs are reused assets. That's what they do. But yeah, no, I think when they made it, they didn't quite realize what they would how they would doing it in terms of mob diversity, because they're like, okay, these areas here are thematically like freaking what are they, like Karui, right? This is the Karui area, so there's a bunch of Karui mobs in here, and then but when you actually play through it, and this is not something I guess you realize as a developer, it's like, this is like the same mobs for like 8 zones or something. So yeah, adding a bit more diversity.
Really
there.
bad, in my opinion. Like the mobs feel terrible. I was so happy.
Also,
It's the Act 6, I think, towards the end of Act 6, right before the Brine King. Like there's like a beach zone that you get on after you've jumped off the ship, and there's
It's got
mobs
the
that
hentai
do.
pirates and stuff.
Yeah. But these mobs, like there's tons of like different mobs, and they hit hard, and they have like mechanics. And I was like, the second I entered that zone, I was like, holy shit, I'm having fun, and I was falling asleep before. Like it never dawned on me, and especially since, like, I know a lot of it is just polishing, but like coming out of Act 5, I know some people don't like Act 5. I fucking love Act 5. Sure, it's got a lot of annoying mobs, but I fucking love Act 5. It's just so polished right
Yeah,
now.
it's
Like,
amazing.
not liking Act 5. Fuck man, it's tough.
yeah, I've heard that people.
Really?
Well, I can
What?
understand it. It's like when people are saying
so good.
they didn't like Scepter of God, you know, because it's annoying mobs. There's like proximity shields, there's chargers, it's like big amounts of mobs. All of them use different abilities. There's like fucking magma orbs flying around. They all use like fire abilities, and everything's burning anyway, so you can't really see that much. Like, some of that is a problem, but overall the feel of the act is very, very nice. Yeah. Well, in Act 6, it just nothing really felt like a challenge at all until I got into that zone, and then it kind of felt like a challenge. And Act 7 is kind of the same way, where it just I didn't have that RPG feeling. I don't know. I really like, you know, I'm a lore person. I'm like a feels person. I listen to the music. I enjoy that stuff, right? I always stop playing my own music. I really try to soak it in, and it just wasn't there for me for those acts just yet. I listened to the dialogue even and the lore and everything, like all of it.
I get what you're saying, Rise, because you're like comparing it to coming out of Act 5, whereas I'm comparing it to revisiting the act again. Mm-hmm. So I'm like thinking, this is so much better, juicy. But you're like, compared to Act 5, this is... And yeah, I agree with you, like definitely could use a bit more challenge and interest in terms of the mobs. It does feel a little bit like revisiting an earlier zone. You know how when you do the difficulty reset and you go back and the mobs are really simple mechanically, and you get that kind of like holiday mode? Yeah. It does still feel a bit like that. Mm-hmm. Because even when there are new mobs there, sometimes they're like mobs from Act 4, right? They're like redone mobs from Act 4, so it's still a bit more mechanically simple than what you were just fighting. So yeah, hopefully when they add these new mobs, they add a bit more kind of like challenge and diversity in terms of fighting them.
Yo, Ziggy, like maybe you can talk to this a little bit. Do you think maybe they focused on like Act 5 because initially they were going to be like, okay, it's just Act 5 in 3.0 expansion, so they like spent all this energy into it, and you could see it from like the hands coming up through the grates and like the environmental things and like completely new mobs and stuff. And then they were like later on they're like, okay, let's do like 7, 8, 9, 10, and then they're like, well, let's just get it all done all at once. So it's like the quality is like spread out over those acts.
Yeah. I don't know how that development timeline went, but even if that's not the case, it's still like kind of remastering acts as compared to making a brand new one. When you're making a brand new one, this is your baby, man. This is the new shit. This is where we let our creativity soar. Whereas the old ones, it's more like, how can we revamp this and make this interesting? So even if they had it planned like this for years, which they might have, yeah, it would still have the same end result.
I definitely feel like it feels different. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think they did a very good job with it feeling nothing like Act 1 normal, or I guess but it doesn't feel like Act 1 normal, the current one, but it still feels like Act 1 cruel, if you know what I'm saying, because of the difficulty. But it does feel like you're doing new content. I think they did a good job. Like, people are like, well, the ridge is just ledge. Doesn't feel like that for me. When I played through it, it felt like a new zone. It just didn't feel interesting.
Above and beyond all of that, like, new bosses, man. There's like a ton of new bosses. That's the part that really gets me and makes this is so fresh. Like, and when that's the part that confuses me when people say it feels like we're just doing the same act again. They just reskinned it a bit. Like, you're ignoring the fact that these are like all new bosses, and some of the bosses are like pretty damn cool and pretty challenging. Like, that's that's the most hype part for me. All these new bosses, nothing else. Even if they didn't change anything else, the fact that it's all new bosses is hype.
No,
the thing is that I'm kind of missing is that I was hoping with the whole 10 act system thing, they would kind of get rid of the like super spiky leveling experience, where it's like, okay, yeah, Act 1, 2 is kind of like super easy, Act 3 kind of difficult, Act 4 is like really challenging, drop off. Act 1, and they kind of still have that a little bit because of the mechanics of the mobs. Like, that's something I don't like. Yeah, I was hoping that they would have more of like a linear progression going on until maps that feels more like naturally the game getting harder and the boss getting more complex and more challenging throughout the whole leveling process, and not just like throughout acts 1 to 4 and then 5 and then like 6, 7, 8. Yeah. They basically have normal cruel again, just from feeling.
I don't think anybody can argue that like Act 4 and 5, like 5 definitely feels more challenging than 4, and 4 is pretty challenging, and then 6 is just not.
6 feels like starting in cruel again,
but that's I guess I said it wrong before, but that's what I meant. That Act 6 does feel like Act 1 cruel still, right?
Yeah,
in the sense of the difficulty is what I meant.
Yeah, just like the progression. Like, I love new bosses, new zones, new quests, whatever. Everything else is fine with me.
I think the one issue there, and Rise, you actually like touched on it, was that with Act 6, when you first enter on the boat, it feels epic. The town looks amazing. It all looks amazing. I visually love the aesthetics of 6 and 7. Like, I absolutely adore it. You then go left and you do the side quests with the exploding zombies. That they do the thing on death, the volatile thing. That seems really cool. Like, oh, these are really cool new mobs. You then don't encounter those mobs like at all for the rest of the leveling process. Then at the end of the Brine King, you then have the new mobs. If they actually manage to incorporate more of those like new designs into the zones, that just might be the one thing it needs. Is that you get these really cool new monsters, you just very rarely see them. So if they just like incorporate them a little bit more, and then you have the big like set piece bosses, I think it'll be like really good. I think it'll be great. They just need to have more interesting mobs in them.
But I can get their concern too. I mean, like they add the zombies or whatever, the noblemen, they have this new mechanic, but at the end of the day, I think their logic is like, well, they're kind of still zombies. Like, you've already been killing zombies all along. Like, these dudes don't really do that much. So I don't know. Maybe if they did it with like every mob, where Roas would now, I don't know, explode as they hit you.
Well, they have a lot of the mobs just like have the one parasite which hops off them. Like most of Act 6 and Act 7 is like, oh my god, I killed it. Little like parasite plops off. If they made those parasites do something, that would make it way more interesting. Because currently they just don't do anything. It's like you kill every mob, it's just like plup, and it just doesn't do jack. So,
Now I want exploding rowers. That's such a good idea. You know, like the martyrs, like Alira's martyrs. We need martyr rowers now. Where the
they do
little
something like
beetle goes.
Yeah, like blood rage. Like they're so desperate because of the Karui that they just now pop.
Yep, they're just suicide now.
They're like
What
Reddit.
if
They're
they
so
do
angry
this?
they pop. That's good.
What if... Okay, so something I noticed during the Mayhem race is that if you ever got the zone with exiles, you notice all the exiles like MTX, right? You're like, oh man, this guy's using blue essence drain and like blue contagion. You're like, wow, it looks so good, especially these like dragon fireball. What if they made like rare and blue packs have like a random MTX? So even if you're fighting, you see like a pack of blue zombies and you know you're gonna one-shot them, but you see a pack of blue zombies with like raven wings or like some random MTX on them, and you're like, oh man, that looks so cool. And that would like spice up like maps a little bit. You get like random visuals once in a while.
I mean, overall, I think that would be good just because the game is in such a desperate need of like reworking models in general, like character models and mob models. Like I think I love Act 1 normal. Like it was always my favorite act, but now in the beta, they changed so many things. It looks so fucking good. It's aesthetically so amazing. But then you're still this like derpy half-naked dude with a little donger on your head and stuff. It's like, and this like Void League, this Void race especially highlighted that.
I like wearing
slap
buckets,
on that
okay?
Bull
I
Regalia.
think that's
Templar looks so
fashionable.
good, man. Templar looks so good with leveling ES gear.
Yeah, especially with the like. The thing is with Templars, he looks shit even with most MTX because he has like the super long neck, which makes everything look.
I love
super
his giraffe
awkward.
neck, man.
Templar's
His
just messed up.
girthy neck. His girthy ass neck.
For the first time ever, I'm using like Chevron's wrappings, right? And I love that model. I love when people use it on like a witch and stuff. It's so amazing. I'm fucking playing a Templar. It's going to waste, dude. It looks terrible. He's got like the half legs like sticking out and stuff, because it only reaches to like half of his leg. So he's just got this like fucking hairy legs, and these pink boots. Because for whatever reason, all things are pink or purple when they're ES, and he's got the donger. And
do you want to know what I do to fix it? Whenever there's like something I want, but GGG doesn't yet have the MTX, just like go into like a fashion magazine, just cut out a nice pair of skinny jeans, and just stick that in the middle of your screen. If you just line up perfectly, your Templar now has pants. Then cut out a nice little hat for him. Give him a nice
British
little
here,
scarf
Tarke.
to cover up the neck.
Nobody agrees. Nobody's British.
Oh, it works perfectly, yeah.
And a poodle. Give him a poodle.
Yeah, fuck
underneath
it.
the armpit
Give it a little cup of tea as well, on the end of his staff. It works just right. Yeah. If we have any time left, I would just be curious. Does anyone here like the current state of Pantheon?
Nope. It's dumb. I was reading through it on the wiki yesterday night. I was like, why? Like, there's a couple things like the bleed stuff in the major and minor that'll help you with lab and like maybe just overall mapping of like, oh, I'm taking a little bit less bleed damage. But the other stuff, you're kind of like.
I like the flask one.
The flask one's cool.
In any talk or like debate, whatever you want to call it, that I've had with anybody ever, like whenever I couldn't defend a point and I was getting to a level where I'm just like, I'm gonna have to fucking agree with this person, I would always be like, but the Pantheon system is coming, motherfucker, and you don't even know how good that shit's gonna be. Maybe Energy Shield is gonna be way better now. And then I saw the Pantheon system, I'm just like, I concede. I'm done.
I really want
There's
to
some
like
good
it
ones.
though. I really want to like it. I feel like the system would be a nice addition. It's just the valves just don't. They're just not right.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
The stuff
like,
on
the
there,
idea.
it looks awesome. I love the idea of capturing souls of bosses and like in these like vessel things and like actually having to defeat this one boss now because you invested this vessel. And I love like having some extra progression thing to work towards that is not OP as Ascendancies, but this one just like there's some things there that for some niche builds are super nice, and there's some general stuff that is so broad that everyone might just put it on their build and be like, okay, it's better now, I guess. But there's very little like incentive to actually hunt like all the miners for your build, or I don't know, like actually go
It's so
for
straightforward.
this.
It's so obvious.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm playing this build, this Pantheon. There's no thought process behind it.
I
There's
feel
no
like-
like, I'm gonna build around this.
Yeah, there's
I
no
feel like
building
the real
around.
pro-
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And that
I feel like
not,
the real. Sorry. It's
You
late.
don't
It's
go.
1 a.m. It's 1
Break
a.m.
them up.
Fucking go. I'm going. I'm done. I'm out.
I think it feels more like they were like, okay, we have these certain builds, and we will make like a thing for most builds. So there's like RF has the one node they take, and there's like this stun immunity thing for CI, and I don't know. It's just not build defining. It's just.
Ziggy, would you like to speak now?
No, I don't even want to
You
anymore.
look like my favorite.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting. Skype is difficult. It's 1 a.m. Shut up. Leave me alone. Don't bully me, chat.
I think one thing which, like, it's also a shame because, as you've said, the idea of it is so cool. Like, you have this god, you get the special vessel, you milk the god juice, you drink the juice.
Whoa.
It's like 4% fizzmit, and it's like, what?
You wait, what?
You milk the gods and you make like a little smoothie, you know? You like
Wait,
juice
what
them. You get your like empty flask, and then you get the god juice, you drink it, and it's like, oh, 4% fizzmit if I meet this awkward criteria. Yeah, boy. So
I was
cool.
like paying attention to the chat. I like spaced out for a second. You milk the gods. I'm like, wait,
Oh,
what?
God.
What did
Like
I
the
get back
fans?
to?
What's the god juice?
But
God juice.
like,
That's a British thing to say.
yeah. For
That
example,
should be the name of the episode, by the way.
Milk
Baeclast
the god-
episode 8, Milk the God Juice.
Okay. But they wouldn't even need to make it that broken. Like, someone made the suggestion. Imagine, so one of them is like, if you're near monsters, you gain some fizzmit, you gain some movement speed. If it was something like, if you're surrounded by 10 or more monsters, you gain phasing. That's something which would change how you would play. Isn't crazy broken, and you'd actually be, like, excited to pick that up.
Okay, so this is what I was trying to say when I was being a rude arsehole. Is that the problem is you don't actually feel the changes. Like when you're like, oh, I have 30% chance to avoid bleeding, fucking, yeah, you don't actually feel that. Like, I feel like this should be a system where it's things that you feel. They're tactical things. Yeah. So I like the flask one because you put that on and you're like, ooh, now I have this like tactical thing where I can hold back a bit of my flask recharge and that feels different. I like the phasing idea that you mentioned. You mentioned that in your video, I think. I'm like, ooh, I like that because then you're like, I'm surrounded now. I'm phasing. Oh, that's a tactical thing. These need to be tactical things. Like, yeah, you can make something strong. It's like, I'll basically put this on and now you're stun immune and CI without needing the uniques.
Maybe people will finally understand my point about acrobatics, because this is the same reason why I don't like acrobatics and mechanics like that. Because like when you need them, you don't feel them, and when you don't, like when they save your life, you don't even know about it. So it's like the same thing here where it doesn't really do anything.
10% chance to not be one-shot, I mean, come on now.
Hey,
Yeah.
10%
10%
chance to
one,
take
like-
50% less area. Who the fuck
Did
thought
you
of
see
that?
my first rip,
Like,
Yoji, in the league? There was like the Sarn guard that's defending Clarissa. He was like,
Uh-huh.
4 ghosts got into him. He just like ran up to me. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go. And he fucking, not only did he choose to double strike, which he doesn't do. He usually does that after 3 attacks. I had acrobatics and it didn't do anything. I just fell over. I'm just like, nah. But then again,
Yeah.
there's no reward to it, right? Because when it did save my life, who knows? Maybe it saved my character
Yeah.
10 times until this point. I wouldn't know. I don't know. Like, this thing could have hit me, or could have not hit me. It could have crit me. I don't know.
That's the
There's
thing.
no
They need
reward.
to be powers, right? Like, these are god powers. They don't feel like powers if there's some like little passive thing that saves you and you don't notice it. It's a power if you're surrounded by mobs and all of a sudden you're phasing. Like, oh, I stole this god's ability to walk through shit. It feels like a power, man.
Yeah.
That's what they need to be. They need to feel like powers.
Yeah. And
Also with the vessel thing, it's like I feel like they missed out a little bit because there's so many maps. Right? There's like 100+ maps. What if there was just things that didn't even affect gameplay that you could pick up, like character size 10% bigger? Like when you dodge, there's like an animation or like a little skill effect that pops up to show that you dodged or maybe like blocked more visually, right? And then so you'd be like, oh, I can see these things that are working on my character, as opposed to like what Ray's just said, where you don't know if it's working, like when it actually works. So.
Yeah. Anything which you can like actually feel, and not only that, like so much of the game is people watching other people play, and it's I really dislike the idea of like someone's watching your stream and it comes to the point where like if the options are so binary that you could have absolutely no idea if all 5 of us all playing the exact same Scorching Ray build in 3.0, because that's what everyone's playing, we've all gone for vastly different Pantheon powers and you cannot tell at all from our gameplay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it's and as it's like it is sort of the flagship system of 3.0. Like the visual artwork for Fall of Oreth is like the Pantheon thing. That's like the big badge. It's got so much like cool about it. The entire lore is like you're helping Sin steal the souls of the gods. Like, yeah, fucking got it. What'd you get?
They have T-shirts with it.
I have 30% less chance to take corrupting blood stacks, bitch. Fucking get on my level. I've mastered this game. And it's like, what the
It's like, yeah, you get 6 corrupting blood stacks, and you're like, I would have had 9.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Maybe.
Easy game. Easy
Hey guys,
life.
there's a few months till 3.0. They'll fix it. They'll fix it.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe it was meant to be like really, I mean, yeah, the flagship, but then like just other things happened, and now it just turned into a nice meme, you know?
Yeah.
Doesn't do that much.
It
Oh,
be
it definitely
so-
creates
we should-
creates
It's
hype.
good that we're talking about this. Like, we need. I think this needs to be pushed. I think this issue needs to be pushed. The Pantheon system needs to be good, and it can be. I think it can be.
Oh,
Yeah, I think they can make this a nice, awesome system somehow. Like, but different, just put different things on it. The whole baseline idea and the artwork and everything is cool. Just put different things in there in the framework. That's awesome, because the stuff in there is not awesome. Only the framework is.
Yeah. Maybe
What
they're
was-
just a real fan of gachi, and they just wanted something of gachi in the thing. So every time something gets, you can just go suction, and then you know, it's good shit.
Yep.
One final thing I'll say about it is one other thing which is really strange. So there's only one. Sorry, I'm trying to like stay on topic.
Fucking Yoji, go to hell.
Okay. We've got this.
Sorry.
There's only one Pantheon with a downside, and that's the Reflect one, which is 20%, I think it is, 20% less Reflect damage taken, but then you take 5% increased cold. It seems really weird that you'd make a system, have only one of them with a downside. You can do it, Yoji, you're holding through. White walls. But, and then the upgraded system doesn't even remove the downside. Like, they could have made a thing of, like, if you want to be really lazy, give all of them a downside, and the upgrade just drops the downside. Like, it's such an obvious thing to do. But it's like, you take the Reflect thing, you take increased cold damage, you upgrade it, and I can't even remember what it is, it's so forgetful. You probably get 1 to 2% Physmit, depending on whatever's around you or something. It's just like,
Yeah, maybe that could work. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like I always like when something has a downside and just like being able to farm it away. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd rather have some more meaningful pros and cons to every choice.
Yeah, I mean, it creates diversity, really,
Yeah.
a lot of it.
I think everyone's just gonna take Brine King to start if it stays like this bad. Because like for example, I'm playing EK Nova as first build, and like it's never just like one stun that kills you. It's like 2 or 3 in succession where you can't cast, and like because your cast will clear the area around you no matter what. It's like ridiculous damage, but it's when you get chained you cannot cast. So that'll like alleviate a lot of deaths. But that's like the only one where it's like, okay, like that helps my build a little bit. I'm excited about that. I don't need Skyforce right away. I don't need to do these other like stun avoidance tricks, you know. So, but the other ones are just like, oh, falling asleep, it's so bad.
Yeah. There's one for RF as well. It's like 10%
2 for RF. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the two for RF, like the damage over time reduction is just so good that every RF build's gonna take that, and everyone else just doesn't want to get stunned, and that's basically the Pantheon system at the moment.
One thing, so when I made my like Pantheon like complainy video, one thing that I did sort of pick up on, and I actually think this might be kind of their reasoning, was it's the idea that if they were too powerful, the idea of constantly swapping them might become frustrating. Like, do you think that could be a concern, maybe, that they're trying to purposely downplay them a bit so people don't feel compelled to constantly add micromanagement?
That's definitely a thing, but I'm not like I'm not saying that they need to be more powerful. I think they could be less powerful than they currently are if they were impactful. They don't need to be powerful. They just need to be impactful. They need to be something you notice. You know, like I said, you know, they need to be some sort of power. They don't need to necessarily be powerful. They just need to be noticeable.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Currently, they feel like I have like the impact of picking up a notable on your pass tree, which is like I do that every 3 levels.
Yeah, it feels like that's not what the system's supposed to be, but that's what it currently
Like
is.
the timing.
But also, maybe it's just incomplete, and you guys wouldn't even know. There's so
I
many
really
things.
hope that's the case, but just in case it's not, we have to like criticize it and hope GG sees it too. That's basically my standpoint.
I mean, if you think about it this way, that it is like, because who knows how many like you can kind of see it on the picture, but you don't really know, I guess, how many bosses there are going to be in like the upcoming acts. You could treat it like ascendancy, right? Where if you only have 4 ascendancy points the way you do in the beta now, it's a lot different than having 8 ascendancy points, and you build your shit a lot differently. But at the same time, I don't believe a word that I just said.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, guys, I'm going to play devil's advocate. By the way, this is all bullshit. Even with that, they like, let's say...
Good try.
Let's say they opened up saying you could have all of them unlocked at once. Even that wouldn't even be that impactful. You'd be like, whoa,
well, unless
I've got like 20
you have
to
200%
30%
more yes
Vismit, yeah, or something.
It could be ridiculous. Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, unless anyone else has anything else to add, I think we've kind of like exhausted ourselves on Pantheon. I don't know. I'm opening the floor to you guys.
Well, I'm good.
Got it. I'm excited.
Yep.
Can't wait for this winter. We're all gonna play some juicy 3.0.
Yeah, 3.0 for Christmas. Hype.
Woo! Choo choo.
Oh,
Christmas.
Christmas 2018.